Hello, I'm Dynast Amir.
So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I going to go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom.
Till next time, Dynast Amir, I'm out.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Sunday, well, it's Sunday here in America. Hope your Sunday is going well, guys. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I would greatly appreciate the support. As we always do before we get into the announcements, I want to thank everyone for the support, everyone who's rocked with me, everyone who's super chatted, everyone who's got on the tour, bought a t-shirt, bought the gear. I want to thank you all. I appreciate the support. It really means a lot. Once again, it really means a lot. So let's jump into these announcements. Then we'll jump into the topic. I hope everyone is having a great day, and hope the start of the new week. Hope your new week is awesome. Hope you have an awesome new week. Again, I hope you have an awesome new week. So let's jump into the announcements. Tours. We are rolling to Sierra Leone. Again, we are rolling to Sierra Leone in April. Okay, there will be a citizenship ceremony. It just has not been officially announced. Again, my close sources say there will be a citizenship ceremony. It's just it has not. The ceremony has not been officially announced. With that being said, even if you're not eligible for citizenship, if you want to roll, appreciate it, Brother Moses. Thank you. If you would like to roll to Sierra Leone with us, again, if you would like to roll to Sierra Leone with us in April, I believe the dates are April 19th through the 29th, or something like that. Yeah, April. In fact, let me just go to the link. Sierra Leone. There we go. April 18th through the 29th, April 18th to the 29th. If you're interested in rolling to Sierra Leone with us, April 18th through the 29th. We will love to have you. Please go to donfo.africa to learn more. Also, we are rolling to Senegal in May. We're rolling to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. That is May 21st to the 30th, May 21st through the 30th. And then Nigeria, we're going to bring it back home. Nigeria, August 6th to the 15th, August 6th to the 15th, Nigeria. Come and join us for the Oshun Festival. So August, Nigeria Oshun Festival. Senegal, May Jazz Festival. Sierra Leone, April, celebrating Independence Day. Also, those who are eligible for citizenship will be receiving, should be, well, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but see this right here? You'll have the opportunity to get one. Again, the dates have not been officially um, announced, but from my close sources have said that there will more than likely be another citizenship ceremony in April. Yeah, so there we go. Also, guys, make sure you buy the documentary In Search of Uhuru. That was the trailer that I just played at the beginning, the long trailer. I'm gonna release a shorter trailer here soon. Again, I'm gonna release a shorter trailer here soon. So go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Let's jump into the topic. Let's jump into the topic. How Black Americans fell out of love with Africa. Well, listen, not this Black American. Not this Black American. In fact, I love every time I touch down on the continent, I appreciate Africa and love Africa even more. Every time I touch down, 10 toes on the ground, I love Africa even more. When I'm in Senegal and I'm eating Dibi and Cheb Jin and Sekbone, oh man, love Africa on just the Atlantic. When I'm overlooking the Atlantic Ocean from my balcony, when I'm in the car in Senegal, love Africa even more. When I'm in Sierra Leone and I'm on River Number Two, when I'm eating groundnut stew, love Africa even more. When I'm in Nigeria, and I'm on the island, I'm in Oshobo for the Voodoo Festival. I mean, the Oshun Festival. I love Africa even more. I can't wait till I get back to the continent in April, and I love bringing you guys with me. Again, I cannot wait till I get back. I cannot wait till I get back in April and bringing you guys with me. In fact, I was supposed to be in Africa right now as we speak, but I had to get some stuff done and finish some initiatives and projects I'm working on before I leave and go back out. But somebody asked a question the other day. Somebody had asked a question the other day. Dynast, why are you trying to force Black Americans to go to Africa or move to Africa? And I'm going to give my response here because the person that asked that question was being very obnoxious and immature. So number one, I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. I can't do that. I don't have the power. All I can do is make suggestions, okay, and give recommendations. That's all I could do. I can't force you to do anything. I can't do it. But the reason why, so my first trip to the continent was in 2011. I went to Zanzibar. I want to say maybe a year or two later, like I think 2012, 2013. Well, I would make sure I made my pilgrimage to Africa once a year. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. As you come to this chat room, I need you to hit the like button. So I think around 2012 or 2013, Mike Brown happened, right? Then you had the uprising in Ferguson and all of that. And the more I would hear Black Americans express their grievances with America, and let's go through the list. All right, let's go through the list of grievances that Black people have with America. They enslaved us, chattel slavery, stripped us of everything we had, our name and identity. We were sharecroppers. Our family built, our ancestors built this country and got nothing for it. Reconstruction, segregation, war on drugs. The white man put dope in our communities. The white man used to leave guns in the alleyways of Chicago. They weaponize our music. Redlining, gentrification. They ran highways through our communities. Black Wall Street. They tore down, they destroyed Black Wall Street. Okay, well, let's rebuild Black Wall Street. Oh, hold on, guys. Let me plug my computer in. Laptop in. It's about to go dead. Hold on 1 second. Okay, there we go. We're good to go. All right, we're good to go. You know, Black Wall Street. Well, what happened, not to minimize what would happen at Black Wall Street, but they actually rebuilt Black Wall Street. The majority of it, the integration came, and Black folks who rebuilt Black Wall Street decided to integrate into white society. Then when we suggest like, hey, let's rebuild Black Wall Street and do for self. Well, the white folks gonna come and burn it back down. Let's see here. School to prison pipeline. War on drugs. You know, why are houses in Black communities, why are they appraised less, or why are the values less than those in the white community? What else? I mean, there's more. There's a whole list of them. I mean, there's more. Okay, there's more. The race soldiers, the racist cops, the race soldiers, the racist cops. Voter suppression, which was a lie here in Georgia. They was trying to push that voter suppression stuff. It ended up being a lie. Stacey Abrams was lying. But okay, but voter suppression. We was 3/5 human. So I said, you know what? Listen, if we have all of these, you know, the Black and white, the racial wealth gap. What else is there? Black wealth is going to be at 0 in 2050. So my thing was like, okay, I hear all of these grievances that Black people have with the United States of America. So one day I said, hey, listen, I've been going to Africa. That's where we're from. It's not perfect, but maybe Black people should consider options outside of America. Again, maybe Black people should consider options outside of America. Then here comes the man, Dynast, man. You trying to see the immigrants, Black Africans, they coming over here. And see, you trying to get them to replace us, Dynast. You're trying to get them to replace us. It's just a lot of y'all are just paranoid, schizophrenic. Is that the correct term? Is schizophrenic paranoia? That's what a lot of you guys suffer from. Because I give an option, then here comes the conspiracy theories. Everything is conspiracy theory. Can't build, conspiracy theory. Can't do this, conspiracy theory. So again, I just said, hey, maybe seek options outside of America. Jonathan, Black people have been doing well ever since we got out of slavery. Again, Black people have been doing well ever since we got out of slavery. You've always had a wealthy, successful class of Black people. Always. I mean, Madam C.J. Walker, well, she was the first woman millionaire. She did that during segregation. And so when people say, Dynast, you're shaming Black Americans, no, I'm just giving an option because per y'all, you know, you guys are under a consistent state of terror here in America, per the grievances I hear from you guys. So all I said was like, look, how about we seek options outside of America? That's what I'm doing. But it's like a lot of y'all got offended. Well, we built this country. We ain't going nowhere. Okay, well, just continue. Now the grievances, in my opinion, are now complaints. They're now complaints. Oh, here's my favorite stalling tactic. Is Africa not under the thumb of white supremacy? I mean, God, it's just excuse after excuse. That's why I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't hear nothing about racism. I don't hear nothing about the prison to school pipeline. I just don't want to hear it no more. Because you don't understand the number of black people who will complain and have grievances about America. You give them an option, and then they start complaining and they have grievances about the option you give them. So I just, I don't want to hear the complaining anymore. Well, they ain't got good roads in Africa. All right, man. Okay. All right. All right. All right, man. All right, man. All right, man. But yeah, there's always been success. I'm one of them. I'm college educated, did very well in corporate America. Did very well. So no one is denying that there aren't successful black people. Again, I'm just giving a solution or offering a solution to all of the complaints and grievances that black people here in America have been making for the past 400 years. But let's jump into this article real quick. How Black America fell out of love with Africa. Contemporary Afro-pessimists, intellectuals see no shared identity that can serve as the basis for solidarity between Africans and African Americans. And that's what I don't understand. Like, you don't want to be African, but you complain how you're not accepted as American. You don't want to be African, but you want to continue to fight and scrap and beg to be a part of the America who you claim don't want you. Now, if you said, listen, I don't want to be an African, I ain't messing with America, I want to separate from both, then okay, no problem. I get it. But I don't understand the latter. Like, you don't want to be African, but you continue to complain how you're not true, you don't have access to everything that you're supposed to have access as an American. You continue to complain about it. Let's jump into this article. In the West African kingdom of Dahomey, before the kingdom's captives departed for the New World to be enslaved, they were forced to march around the tree of forgetfulness 6 times so that they would remember neither their home continent nor the people they were leaving behind. By the middle of the 18th century, the British were annually shipping tens of thousands of Africans in chains from the west coast of Africa across the Atlantic Ocean, feeding their seemingly inexhaustible desire for enslaved labor to work their sugar plantations dotted across the Caribbean. These voyages have frequently been referred to as the Middle Passage, a one-way journey transforming Africans into Black slaves. Its irreversibility is a bedrock of the African American origin story. Dahomey aristocrats forced captives to sever ties with their homeland. In the same vein, contemporary Afro-pessimist intellectuals argue that the Middle Passage means today's Africans and members of the African diaspora have forgotten one another. Afro-pessimism is a theory developed by Black American intellectuals like Frank Wooderson, Christina Sharp, Saidiya Hartman, and Fred Moten, which holds that the experience of racism and slavery in the Americas makes the Black American experience so unique that it cannot be compared with the suffering of other peoples. Rendered strangers by the Middle Passage, Afro-pessimists see no shared identity that can serve as the basis for solidarity between Africans and African Americans. But, and a friend told me this. Guys, hit the like button. Again, please hit the like button. That the Black American is more Anglo than they are African. The Black American is more Anglo than they are African. This is what an African American told me. And this is kind of what Yvette Carnell's been saying. But America doesn't accept the Anglo in you. They still look at you as an African. That's the point that's the point I'm trying to make. Hold on, let's jump more into this article. Rendered strangers by the Middle Passage, Afro-pessimists see no shared identity that can serve as the basis for solidarity between Africans and African Americans. Historical records, however, show that occasionally some captives, even after forcibly crossing the Atlantic, later returned to their homes in Africa as freemen. In 1777, a British slaver, Captain Benjamin Hughes, sold African navigators who enjoyed the status of freemen along the Gold Coast into slavery. Years before, according to Christopher Leslie Brown's Moral Capital, 9 Englishmen had been taken hostage over a similar incident. Fearing disruptions to the trade, the British Company of Merchants trading to Africa dispatched Kofi Albon, a relative of the surviving captive Kwamino Amisa, urgently to the West Indies to bring him home by way of England and sued Hughes for damages. This story demonstrates Brown writes that even at the height of transatlantic slave trade, the British were in no position to treat all Black people alike. Despite the cruelty of slavery throughout the Atlantic world and Herculean efforts on the part of European and African elites to force the enslaved to forget their past, connections between the African diaspora in the New World and those who remained in Africa persisted and grew. By the beginning of the 20th century, ties across the Atlantic gave rise to Pan-Africanism, which helped fuel the social movements that resulted in the wave of independent states in Africa and civil rights legislation in the United States during the 1960s. Pan-Africanism sees the suffering of Black people throughout the world, whether from colonialism, slavery, or segregation, as interrelated. No less a figure than Martin Luther King Jr. understood these struggles to be connected. In Ghana, for the celebration of his independence from Britain, Dr. King said, "This event, the birth of this new nation, will give impetus to oppressed peoples all over the world. I think it will have worldwide implications and repercussions, not only for Asia and Africa, but also for America. For decades, through the final overthrow of apartheid in South Africa in the 1990s, movements for the rights of Black Africans on both sides of the Atlantic propelled and reinforced one another." As an ideology, Pan-Africanism, fiercest proponents W.B. Du Bois, Henry Sylvester Williams, C.L.R. James, and George Padmore argued that the struggle for national self-determination was essential to the reassertion of Black Africans' rightful place of the world stage in their self-respect. Yet by the 1990s, the equation of self-determination with self-respect was being challenged from 3 directions. The first and perhaps oldest line of critique, launched during the Cold War, argued when nationalist movements came to power, they frequently created authoritarian states. The second building, post-colonial authoritarianism, highlighted the ways in which African elites were impoverishing their peoples. Finally, a powerful strand of pessimism swept over Black American intellectuals in the 1990s, fueled by the disappointment in the performance of post-colonial states and a growing sense that slavery and colonialism were not analogous to one another. Today, Afro-pessimism has become one of the principal ways that Black Americans engage with Africa, both intellectually and through pop culture. Contemporary Afro-pessimist intellectuals argue that the Middle Passage means Africans and members of the African diaspora have forgotten one another. The Afro-pessimists reject the equation of the struggles of a permanent minority with anti-colonial nationalism in Africa and Asia, because they insist on the particularly of the Black American struggle and refuse to see it as connected to and reflected in the struggles of other anti-colonial movements. They are more isolated from Africa than even earlier generations. This is despite greater migration over the last few decades and vastly increased communication and transportation links between the United States and the continent. What do you mean by Black Americans are not African? Who said that? I didn't say that. We have a lot of Black Americans who don't identify as African, but I didn't say that. The United States is less of an economic and cultural presence on the continent today than it did at the beginning of the 21st century. Well, that's somewhat changing with the U.S. African summit they had last month. Though Africa has flourished since then, between 2000 and 2019, sub-Saharan Africa enjoyed an average GDP growth rate of 4.35%, according to the World Bank, well above the global average over that time period. These 20 years of respectable growth contrast sharply with that economists called the African tragedy. The period between 1975 and 1999, when sub-Saharan Africa's percentage of global GNP shrank from 17.6% to 10.5%. Health, mortality, and literacy rates there had all followed similar trends. The region also had the world's highest rates of HIV positivity. During the 1990s, fully 9% of adults there were living with HIV/AIDS at the turn of the century. Jesus. Writing in the immediate aftermath of the African tragedy, Columbia University professor Saidiya Hartman asserted that for Africans, independence was a short century. After a little less than a decade of independence, Ghana, in many ways, the poster child of Pan-Africanism under the leadership of the charismatic Kwame Nkrumah. Well, see, this is the thing, especially when it comes to Ghana. The average Ghanaian on the ground wasn't Pan-African. Because the people forget that Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown via a coup, which I'm sure the US and the CIA played a role in, but that Ghanaians supported. So you really can't say that Ghana was the poster child for Pan-Africanism. If anything, Liberia was the poster child for Pan-Africanism. In fact, it would be Liberia. Experienced the first of several military coups in 1966. Coups swept the continent in the 1970s and 1980s, and Southern Africa and the Horn of Africa were ravaged by some of the last large-scale conflicts outside of Afghanistan, witnessed by the twilight years of the Cold War. Intellectually, pessimism about the political capacity of Africans to govern themselves reigned supreme in the elite universities of the United States and Britain, as well as in foreign policy think tanks and large international financial institutions. In 1981, Harvard political scientist Robert Bates, markets and states in tropical Africa, captured the zeitgeist by pointing out that agricultural, the backbone of many African states' economies, was declining in productivity due to the flagrant negligence of political elites who favored their own political constituencies, sorry about that, over the needs of the general population. In this context, one would be forgiven for seeing a connection between the self-interest and short-sighted contemporary African elites who traded immediate personal gains for the long-term interests of their states and people, and the African rulers during the centuries of the slave trade who made some of the calculations. I can see that. I agree with that. The Afro-pessimists, I mean, you could say the same thing in regards to leadership here in Black America. You think the Black caucus is operating in the best interest of Black people? Again, you think the Black caucus is operating in the best interest of Black people? You think of Barack Obama operating in the best interest of Black people? The Afro-pessimists of the 1990s came of age just as South Africa won its independence from the white minority rule. This victory was a symbol of the political power of Pan-Africanism. As it grew out of the decades of tireless activism by South African activists in the cities and townships, as well as the strength of a global anti-apartheid coalition, at the center of this coalition were newly independent African states like Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Tanzania, Angola, and Namibia, all of which faced violent incursions from the apartheid government as it resisted democracy. Okay, y'all, if y'all need a job, this magazine, OEMA, is hiring a senior editor who will work with us in LA or remotely. The salary range is $110,000 to $160,000. And guys, this is from Noema Mag. Sorry, guys. I should have shouted that out for the beginning. Should have at least 5 years experience editing. Yeah, so there you go. Click here. Also, crucially important was the mobilization of African American civil, religious, and political organizations to pressure the U.S. government to limit its support for apartheid. Despite the presence of staunch supporters for segregation inside Reagan's administration, the State Department began to distance itself from the apartheid government. This culminated in Nelson Mandela, the future president of South Africa and one-time political prisoner of the United States, a political prisoner of the apartheid regime, visiting the White House to meet with President George W. Bush. In 1990, after years of African American pressure, Bush finally declared that apartheid was a repugnant system. Afro-pessimists insist on the particularity of the Black American struggle and refuse to see it as connected to and reflected in the struggles of other anti-colonial movements. Yet, when the subject of discrimination against Americans of African descent later came up during a town hall hosted by Ted Koppel, Mandela said that while the entire mass democratic movement in South Africa condemns racialism wherever it may be found, it would not be proper for me to delve into the controversial issues which are tearing the society of this country apart. I am sure that the USA has produced competent leaders of all population groups who are able to handle their own affairs very effectively. Oh, come on, Mandela. Oh, my goodness. Mandela, man, you are giving these Afro-pessimists full fuel. Oh, come on, Mandela. You couldn't speak out on that. Ah, come on, Mandela. All right, let's continue. The invocation of state sovereignty, a refuge unavailable to African Americans destined to always be a minority, was offensive and disappointing to many Black leaders in the United States who felt that they had put their own political capital on the line only to receive so little in return. Similarity in the works of Black scholars like Hartman, Moulton, and Wilderson, there is a pessimism about the utility of politics, particularly politics expressed through the institutions of the state, because while it is state power that ultimately redeems captives like Amisom from bondage or that protects its citizens from predation and capture, it is also that same power that polices the boundaries of political membership and decides who is worthy of protection. These are the same states that sent and still send people into bondage. Amisom, despite being captured, smuggled across the Atlantic, and forced to work as a slave, was never stripped of his social relations or rendered kinless. In the end, his people used the political power to call him back to their land. And listen, that's what Sierra Leone is doing right now. This is what Sierra Leone is doing right now. The desire to turn to Africa remains powerful impulse throughout the African diaspora. Igbos and an ethnic group located in southeastern Nigeria who disappeared from enslavement in the New World were often thought to have flown magically back to Africa. Being rescued by one's African, now there are a lot of Black Americans here who have Igbo DNA. I don't know about that one. Being rescued by one's African kin is a recurring theme in African American cultural consciousness. Just witness the plots of recent Hollywood blockbusters like Black Panther and Coming to America 2. Hey, listen, I haven't seen a new Black Panther and I haven't seen Coming to America 2. How was the new Black Panther and how was Coming to America 2, family? Were they good movies? Was Coming to America 2, Coming to America Part 2, was that good? Yeah, we're confused. Yeah, Larry. So we got Black folks. See, we've gone too far left. We done went from we ain't African to we the Hebrew Israelites, we Native Americans, the Nile Rivers here in America. Yeah, we just went back-ish crazy. As Black Panther reveals, however, even cinematic reconciliation is fraught between a Black diaspora estranged from the continent and those who got to stay in the mythical kingdom of Wakanda, largely untouched by the slave trade and European colonialism. In the movie's final moments, the king of Wakanda, T'Challa, offers Eric Killmonger, the son of a Wakandan abandoned to live in a new world of forgiveness for trying to kill him and overthrow his regime. T'Challa tells Killmonger that he can return to Wakanda, that his exile can be ended. There is a place for him in Africa, and he does not need to wander any further to diaspora. And what is perhaps the film's most poignant line, Killmonger snarls at T'Challa and says, "Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage." Is this where FBA gets this, we fighting back, we ain't running? This sounds like FBA. Man, Dinus, you running. We fighting back. Fighting back how? Like Killmonger actually pulled up and was fighting back for real in the movie. Y'all ain't fighting back right now. Like, where's this fight? When I hear my FBA ADOS brothers say, we fighting back, like, where's this fight at? Like, where's the fight? Killmonger was pulling up on everybody. Like, where's this fight at? Starting out over Wakanda, Killmonger pulls out a blade out of his chest and proceeds to die. So that's how I was going to end. So FBA ADOS, if y'all don't get what y'all want, y'all just going to commit suicide here in America and claim and then say we fought back and we rather be buried, jump in the Pacific Ocean or Atlantic Ocean. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, the Lake Michigan in Chicago, like where else? Mississippi River. I don't know. Yeah, that's how I was gonna. Okay, I get it now. I get it now. So that's the end game. If y'all don't get what y'all want, y'all just gonna jump in Lake Michigan and Chicago. You know, black folks, we all got folks from Chicago, the Mississippi River, because you know, black folks, we all got family like from Mississippi area through Alabama to Georgia. That's what y'all gonna do. Okay, I know the game plan now. I know the game plan now. Okay, there it goes. Y'all don't get what y'all want. Y'all go commit suicide and have a mass suicide and jump into Lake Michigan and jump into the Mississippi River. That's the end game. Okay, I get it now. Even if only allegorically, the filmmakers end the movie by reaffirming the intractable gap between the descendants of this disposed black diaspora and the subjects of the African sovereigns. It is a skepticism about whether people of the African diaspora can find meaning in a shared narrative of the past or hope of the future that makes Hartman doubt the political potential of an identity like Africa. Instead, she writes poignantly in Lose Your Mother. Unlike we come together, or we who fled, or we who were liberated, African people crossed the lines of raider and captive, broker and commodity, master and slave, kin and stranger. The compassionateness of these words, African people was as dangerous as it was promising, no doubt, for the priests. The longing that resided within them concerned what we might become together, or the responsibility of solidarity, which would enable us to defeat the enemy again, except that they describe the enemy too. Africa was never one identity, but plural and contested ones. I came to realize that it mattered whether the we was called who we became together are African people or slaves, because these identities were tethered to conflicting narratives of our past, and well, these names conjured the different futures. The pessimism in Hartman's reading of African history stems from the belief that the African elites and the states that they control have for centuries been at best complicit and if not at the root of their own people's exploitations. African political projects, however well-intentioned, were doomed to impotence. In fact, the Middle Passage, European racism, and the work of Black intellectuals throughout the world have created ties that cannot be severed. Even the children's adaptation of the New York Times popular 1619 project, Born on the Water, emphasizes that those of us of African descent in the United States are a new people. A recent review of the children's book called The Idea of Being Born on the Water beautifully reparative. In this tale, the child making her family tree is encouraged to reflect on her people's origins in the kingdom of Ndongo, which by the 17th century was Catholic and in close alliance with the Portuguese, later fighting alongside them against the larger kingdom of the Congo and its Dutch allies. The narrative arc centers the question of what sort of knowing state allowed its people to be captured and enslaved. Before establishing, not without criticism, the idea that African Americans are the foundation upon which the United States is built. Nevertheless, the story is still one of Africa that, even if not forgotten, willingly forsook some of its people, and an imperfect republic in the United States that must be cajoled into accepting its original citizens. It's an irony that the United States relationship with Africa outside of its ever-present security partnerships grew weaker under his first Black president. Yeah, I mean, Barack Obama assassinated an African leader. So yeah, that guy. Obama, whose father came from Kenya, saw the United States lose its place as the major trading partner for most African countries. And in the wake of 2008 financial crisis, Western banks also began to leave the continent in droves. The Obama, man, this Obama guy, man. This Obama guy, man. Goodness. The biggest co-op ever. That's right. The former Assistant Secretary for the State of African Affairs, Tibor Nageli, recently noted, for too long, when investors have knocked on the door and Africans have opened the door, the only person standing there was the Chinese. One reason for U.S. officials' increased disengagement with the African continent has been the near absence of the Pan-Africanist civil society activists in policymaking about Africa. The high point of Africanism was the anti-apartheid struggle, but in recent decades, African-American civil society has been marked in part by a rising movement called American Descendants of Slavery, a popular nationalist movement. Okay, can somebody explain? So a rise of nationalist movement, like so you're like, okay, when you say you're a Black American nationalist, so you're like the Proud Boy. I mean, you're like the Proud Boys, and I mean, you're really no different from the white groups who are nationalists. A nationalist movement to be American, like okay, I need somebody to come in and really explain this, because a popular nationalist movement, because when I think like nationalist movements, I think the Proud Boys and these other like white sovereign nationalists. That's what I think. Am I missing something? Yeah, Pan-American movement. Right. So what ADOS might as well do, you might as well partner like with the Proud Boys and other nationalist groups who are primarily white. That's who you might as well partner with. A popular nationalist movement that argues that the United States and Black Americans should show special treatment to the descendants of American slavery over others in the global Black diaspora. Similarly, for many moderate Black Americans, the global war on terror reframed much of Africa, a continent that is home to many Muslim majority countries, as part of a hostile and culturally alien, Muslim world. The African American community has also lost many of its autonomous foreign policy institutions, which had historically spearheaded U.S. engagement with Africa. Whether in the push for African independence, famine relief in the 1970s, the anti apartheid struggle in the 1980s, debt forgiveness and the fight against AIDS in the 1990s, or the creation of free trade agreements in the early 2000s. The most famous of these is Trans Africa, now the Trans Africa Forum, which grew out of the Black Forum of Foreign Affairs in 1976. It gave organizational and legislative capacity to the Congressional Black Caucus and the Free South Africa movement. And it counted luminaries like Arthur Ashe, Mary Frances Berry, Danny Glover, and Harry Belafonte among its members. The legislative high point was its work in passing the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986. Yet today, groups like Trans Africa have largely faded from the public sphere. The organization today does not even maintain its own website. It is common to hear U.S. foreign policy experts relegate African affairs to a position of secondary importance. That somewhat changed last month with the U.S. Africa conference that they have. Only significant as it relates to the U.S.-China competition or the spectra of terrorism, because the links between Black diaspora remain partially severed. Africa's flourishing today has more to do with the rise of China and the Indian Ocean Rim economies than the West, which is a good thing, because the West has done nothing but play a role in destabilizing Africa. Afro-pessimist intellectuals might argue that the growing political separation between African and Black American social movements is a welcome sign of maturity, and this allows for each side to articulate a look after its own interests. Yet this logic relies on an equally false belief that there is a Black American identity that can be easily demarcated from African and African diaspora identities in politics. And see, it can't be, because that's your guys' grievance. Your guys' grievance is we want to be accepted as Americans and pretty much be treated like white people and have the same rights, when the system has told you that, nah, you African, so you can't separate it. Yet this logic relies on an equally false belief that there is an African Black American identity that can be easily demarcated from African and African diaspora identities in politics. In fact, the Middle Passage, European racism, and the work of Black intellectuals throughout the world have created ties that cannot be severed. All right, y'all. So listen, I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. Link is in the chat room. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We got a word from our sponsors. And guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. All right, let's take a commercial break.
At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group. Serious legal representation.
Hey you guys, it is your girl Alexis Fowler coming to you with a special sale of 40% off all of my services when you use promo code VIP40 at alexisfowler.com. As a brand designer and consultant, I provide services like digital art, logo designs, packaging designs, web designs, social media flyers, and much more. If you're an entrepreneur with a business or a startup company and you need help with branding and graphic design, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity with 40% off using promo code VIP40 to get 40% off on all my services at alexisfowler.com.
Hi guys, I'm Jay Dior, intuitive reader and spiritual advisor. If you are someone who has been looking for more clarity or guidance on some of the issues that you have been experiencing in your life, then you can head to my website, bougievoodoo.com, where you can check out my reviews, or you can go ahead and book a session now. Also, check out my boutique, Jade Your Beauty, where I sell everything from luxury virgin hair and wigs to high quality sport bikinis and swimwear. There is free shipping on all orders over $100, or you can use promo code YouTube for an extra 10% off. Scan the QR code to check out the site now.
Cosby fan, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just I don't like niggers.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, mine's that BS. Okay, honestly, this is a definition of saying a lot of our people are lost, and they don't want the entire people don't want to be found. I think the worst. I think that's why sometimes a part of me that I can never forgive W.E.B. Du Bois to a certain extent, because this is what Marcus Garvey was trying to prevent. And this is what Carl G. Woodson was talking about in his book. Because the sad part is, a lot of us don't want to admit we're fighting for an identity that was literally never real. That's I don't know how else to say it. We're fighting for an identity that was ever real. Because once you want to look at it, when we call ourselves Black Americans or FBAs, whatever, a Black America ultimately is a colonized African, if we want to be real about it. And the sad part is, to an extent, it hasn't gotten us anywhere. Because the worst thing slavery did, honestly, is to give us the illusion that we're literally, we make it sound like we're the black Europeans and Africans are yin and yang of each other in this country, in which we're not. They really sound like they're literally the black versions of Europeans. And that kind of mentality is actually doing more harm to them than good. We haven't progressed in anything. And sometimes even I say it's pretty foolish how you guys are trying to fight. You're trying to fight a war with the race that you're trying to be a part of. That's foolish. And one thing, like I said, like not just you, but a lot of people to expose that you guys are trying to be something that we're not. And one thing I agree with Dr. Umar, he said, you can't name yourself out of oppression. The Black American is trying to be the white American, just a darker skin version of it. And the reason I know this African denial is so powerful, because Africa, even when they're calling out to us and saying, come to the continent, let's build, we want to give you guys citizenship, we want to give you guys opportunities to help we can do in America. And they're giving us, and they want to give this to us. And the reason that we're not accepting it, because that will expose the fraud of a persona we have about ourselves. That's exposing it. And that's one thing we're not discussing. Like the average Caucasian, especially the ones in power, they're not giving African Americans these kind of opportunities. And if we did, we have to fight for it. I don't remember last time I checked, I don't see any African Americans have to fight African leaders or any Africans to get citizenship for Sierra Leone or Ghana or anything like that. They just willingly gave it to us and say, let's see what we can do with it, which is great. And look at that. No bloodshed, no bitching, no marching, none of that. But look what you got to get. But look what you need to get from the white community. You got to go through hell and back just to get something, and that's maybe a promise. This denial that we want to be like, one thing I agree with Brandon, the brother Brandon, when he's on here, we want to be with them so badly. We want to sacrifice everything that's not even worth the sacrifice. And Africans, even the ones who are inviting us back into the continent, in a way, they're exposing us how much they're kind of exposing how dysfunctional we are. Because even I can't comprehend it. The denial of one's race, the denial of our ancestry, is literally ultimately going to destroy this community. That's it. And this denial and naming, giving us all the different names, different titles, hasn't really helped the community at all. Because I'm trying to ask them, what do we really get out of it? What was the cost? What was the real price of this? And a lot of us don't want to see that because I'll say this before I'm done. I'll say this one thing before I'm done. The worst thing slavery ever did is literally the one thing slavery ever did, and one thing our ancestors witnessed in slavery was literally the death of the African. That's the worst thing. That's the worst form of death I ever seen in our community. And now we're paying. And now, it's because of the death of that African, we're still suffering to this day. And I believe not just white racism, but Black ignorance is going to ultimately kill us, ultimately as well.
Right. Let's pass it to. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what the brother's saying there. I think this denial and and this willingness to join what essentially is a Pan-American movement, where you are trying to spread Americanism all around the world in blackface, is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Part of the reason why I woke up was because these people complaining about Black leadership in Africa. Part of the reason why I woke up was because of the poor leadership that we have here in the United States between the Congressional Black Caucus and Barack Obama. If you couldn't wake up after seeing that performance, I don't know what else there is. But yet these people still keep hanging on. It's like the ultimate abusive relationship. No matter how much America keeps kicking your ass, you decide to hold on to that picture and longing for them and hoping that things are going to change and they'll get better. And they ultimately don't. I'm not saying everybody should leave, because clearly most of you people really want to stay here, which is fine. But I'm saying that, if you don't want to go to Africa, there are other places you can go as well. But this nonsense where you're going to spend your entire life complaining, bitching and moaning about the same things and the systemic inequalities, and you're clearly watching the system just adapt, not change, and yet you're going to stay here, is just utterly ridiculous. Either you accept the fact you're in the white man's country and that he's going to do what he wants to do to you, or you end up having to make an alternate plan. But what this has taught me is it's very clear that the vast majority of our people are going to stay right here, and that's just going to have to be good enough for us. Let the few get up and go do something else, and let the rest of the people just stay right here and rest on the fact they have a nice car and they have a nice house, and that think they're making it. This makes absolutely no sense, especially some of the arguments that I've seen inside the chat, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right, go ahead, Real Monger. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, bro? I just wanted to ask you, how much percentage of Black America and how soon do you think should all be going to Africa?
I'm not saying completely uproot yourself and move to Africa. I was just giving solutions to the grievances that I hear consistently every day from Black America. All right, we'll seek options outside of America. And then as far as those who are listed, it's going to be a small percentage, because Black people as a whole barely have passports.
Right. So what's your solution for the Blacks that decide to stay in America?
They just gotta figure it out.
No, so I mean, what's the purpose of going to Africa, right? If we not if it's not going to affect us here in America, like, so if you're saying you don't have a solution for all the Blacks, you only have a solution for some of the Blacks?
Absolutely, because John Henry Clark, Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, Amos Wilson, they've given the solutions. We don't listen. So I'm not focused on all of Black America. They just got to figure it out.
Right. So now you don't think the same political manipulation that's going on in America to keep Blacks in that position, you don't think that's going on in Africa, keeping them down from, you don't think Africans that's there right now is capable of getting themselves out of poverty?
There's no manipulation here in America anymore. We're just,
no, in Africa.
Well, you brought up here in America first. So let me address that.
I said, so you're saying there's manipulation in Africa, but there's no manipulation here in America?
No, there's yes and no. The reason why
COINTELPRO wasn't real. J. Edgar Hoover,
All excuses. All excuses.
No. I'm not talking about whether it being an excuse or not. Was it real?
It's real because we made it real. You could easily say, no, we have a sellout culture. Sellout culture is part of black people. We just have a sellout culture.
Right. And there's no sellouts there in Africa. They didn't sell out damn near every one of their presidents.
It's globally.
Huh?
It's globally.
Right. So what outcome is going to happen in Africa that's going to be different than in America if they can go through if they got the same sellouts and the same political manipulation?
Let's see here. So I'll give you another. When I hear grievances of Black Americans, oh man, we got gentrified out of community. We lost our houses because of taxes. That don't happen in Africa. Like I haven't heard one Africa say that they lost their houses or lost their land because they didn't pay tax.
People in downtown are crying, getting priced out of their homes from all the Black Americans moving over there.
No.
I didn't watch a documentary on that.
Nobody's being priced out of their homes.
Okay, so the Back to Africa movement, all the locals that hadn't normally charging people like $30 a night or something like that, or a week or whatever, didn't start jacking their prices up because the Black Americans kept relocating to Ghana. You
can still find somewhere to stay for $30 a night if that's what you want.
I'm saying for a Ghanaian. I mean, you mean to tell me if Americans coming there,
if a Ghanaian wants to find somewhere to stay for $30 a night, they can.
What you're bringing up basically is what happens when urban populations, urban place gets busy. Everything you're speaking of is very specific to Accra. You could go out to many parts of Ghana and live very affordably and cheaply.
Right. I would recommend. What if I don't want to go somewhere cheaply? What if I'm rich and I got some money and I want to stay in Accra and I want to build up a skyscraper or some shit like that? You know what I mean? Like some Black Americans just built a skyscraper in what town was it? I think it was, I forgot what city it was in, but there was like 6 brothers came together to just build up a high-rise apartment complex. I just was reading it. Forgive me, I forgot what city it was in.
You can do that, but I'm addressing what you were specifically talking about, which was the local Ghanaian and the average person. I would not recommend the average person go to a city center like that. That would just be the wrong move.
Why would that be the wrong move?
Because people go broke in Accra.
Oh, so you're saying for my own benefit, to protect me from going broke, don't go to Accra anyway?
I would say there are other places you can go. If you're somebody with a plan, like you just stated, where you have people who came together who want to build a skyscraper and have a specific plan, that's great. I would not start in the city center no more than I would recommend someone start in New York City.
Right. So how do the locals survive if a regular person can't survive, a regular Black American can't survive in Accra, how would a regular Ghanaian? It doesn't really make sense.
Real Mongo, the same reason why I'm surviving in Atlanta when I bought my home for $185,000 versus someone who's trying to move to the same neighborhood where houses are starting off at $500,000. The locals are already rooted in those cities.
Yeah, but I did the same thing, right? I'm from New York, but I moved down to Atlanta. Right. And I sat here and watched in maybe 5-10 year span, really in 2-3 years, rent get doubled and tripled just because people from up north is moving down there and renting it up north prices. Right, but now if because it's not just white people that could gentrify Black neighborhoods. Black people could gentrify Black neighborhoods. Black people can.
You understand? In Africa, is more ownership than rents.
Right. Okay, because I'm saying, like, if a significant number of Black Americans go over there, right, and I've watched damn near every documentary about Africa there is, including yours, I've seen there be problems where they'd have Black Americans spending in the market more than what most Ghanaians can spend in a week, and the Ghanaian African American will do it in one setting. I'm saying no matter what we do, we're gonna impact their environment. So and that's not even the topic of why I called. But what I'm saying is,
well, just don't move to Accra.
You said just don't move to Accra?
Yeah. If you're that concerned, if someone's that concerned about Accra, Ghana, don't move to Accra.
No, really, I'm concerned about our the reception. Once we start changing shit around, like there's like when like that Fihankra project or whatever that happened years ago, when they gave a certain piece of land for Black Americans to move to. It's free land. All you have to do is pay the taxes or something like that. But they had a lot of stipulations because it'll impact the locals.
Have you been to Accra?
No, I haven't been to Africa at all.
Oh, okay, dude, go travel to Africa. Go
of course, but I mean, I'd be a fool not to do my research, right?
I can't. I just listen. Go visit first. Go visit first.
No, I'm pretty sure I have a good time, bro. I'm not questioning my enjoyment of Africa. What I'm saying is, can I be myself? And I hear a lot of, don't bring your Western mindset over there.
I can't.
You understand what I'm saying?
You gotta go visit, bro. Just go.
What makes you think you can go anywhere and just?
You can fly direct from Lagos to from Atlanta to Lagos, bro. Catch a flight.
Right.
What makes you think you can go anywhere and you can just impose your culture onto what the places that you're at?
Well, I mean, there's a Chinatown in every city. There's a Africa town in every city. A little Italy everywhere. I mean, why would I go somewhere where I'm not welcome? I'm not saying impose my culture. I'm not saying step into somebody's house and tell them that's not how they're supposed to do things. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, that's what you just said when you said you were going to change things around and stuff. So that's
that doesn't mean impose. And when you say impose, you're inferring some type of taking an offensive. I'm talking about just existing.
Okay. Nobody says you can't exist, but anytime you go someplace, there's an adjustment that you have to make for culture. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. Just like the old saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Well, I mean, it'd be the same thing. Plus, there's a lot of things, deprogramming that a lot of Black people from the West would have to do when they get over there. And it would behoove them to actually try and learn.
How much deprogramming? I mean, like, what are we bringing over there if what we doing is wrong? Like, what do we have to offer Africa then?
What you have to offer is expertise in certain areas, and what you have to offer is an ability to understand, global systems and things like this. But the fact will still remain: if you get over there and you disrespect people in their culture, then you will end up being rejected. You see that?
No, not this. I don't think we should go over there and disrespect at all. I don't think anybody should go disrespect anywhere, no matter where they go. What I'm saying is,
well, then we agree.
Your mere presence will affect the locals, right? Same way when they here in America they move a bunch of Mexicans into a Black neighborhood, obviously a lot of jobs are going to shift. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Is there a lot? You're saying we should be going over there to bring our expertise because they lack expertise? Like they need us on an intellectual level?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Many of them could be even more educated than us. What I'm saying is that there are certain areas and expertises that we have that do over here that could be useful over there, and that we could actually use those skills to benefit everybody. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. I just think based on, I just know me. Like, so if I go over there just from just from a cultural standpoint, you know what I'm saying? I don't see how like tens of thousands of Black Americans could go over there without ruffling no feathers.
Listen, I don't want to listen. Just stay in America. Just stay in America.
Okay, I'm gonna say this.
Hold on, but Black Line, let me pack, brother. Just
no, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Just stay in America.
So you don't. So you saying if you don't, you saying so if you don't go over to Africa, and you have to renounce your Americanness in order to be welcome.
You ain't got to renounce anything. Just stay in America.
Okay.
But there's an adjustment made anywhere you go. It doesn't matter. You could be moved to the Caribbean.
Alan, if I get I have to adjust coming from California to Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying they shouldn't adjust. You taking it from 0 to 60, bro. I'm saying what do we have? Like, you're saying we need to go to Africa and bring our expertise because we have expertise that they don't.
Let me back up. Ron, did you watch from the beginning of the show?
I missed like the first 30 minutes.
Okay, so the reason why I was telling Black Americans to consider Africa is because the new grievances that Black America that they bring up every other month with America. Slavery, the racial wealth gap. They ran freeways through our cities, gentrification, redlining, the school to prison pipeline. They put coke in our communities. They put drugs in our communities. They put guns in our communities. Racism, the racist police officers, every segregation, every other month is a new grievance. So I just said, hey, how about seek opportunities outside of America? And then usually what happens is I get the pushback like people like yourself. So I'm just to point now that I don't want to hear you guys complaining about.
But how is it pushback? Why if you can't answer questions, then you really don't stand on nothing.
We answered your question, but it's
right.
Just,
so I mean, so why would what's wrong with being with having questions?
The point I'm trying to make, the amount of complaining that Black people do in America, y'all worried about the wrong stuff by going to at least visit or get residency in another country. With the amount of complaining Black people do here in America.
No, I agree.
Right.
I agree with going to other countries and going to Ghana. I'm with all of that. But I mean, to go to Ghana without asking questions or without getting acclimatized to the local population, you know what I'm saying? It's also got to be a two-way street. So like I see like Ghana had put out the whole Back to Africa movement and all that. Not Back to Africa movement, whatever it's called, the year return. And they did certain things to accommodate Black Americans. What I'm saying is if we going over there and, you know what I'm saying, if we going over there, say we all love it, right? Say they want 2 million Black Americans. It's impossible for us to go over there and not cause some type of upheaval, even if it's unintentional. Yes. So my point is this: what is your overall goal with Black people going to Africa? Is it just to have a change of pace? Or are you saying what's the end goal? Is what I'm saying. Like how many people should go over there?
It's an option. And it doesn't have to be Africa. You got brothers going to South America. You got brothers going to Central America. It's just the problem, real monger, is for some reason when Black people who complain about racism and how hard they have it here in America go to other places, these questions don't come up. But brothers will hop on a plane and go to Thailand, Mexico, Cancun, go to Europe, and not worry about what happens if we integrate our American culture. Are they going to receive us? They have no problem getting up and going anywhere else. But for some reason, when it comes to Africa, we just get a bunch of stalling tactics.
Right.
And
I mean,
I think
I'm not against that. I'm not against it. I just think, you know what I'm saying? I don't, me personally, on a day-to-day basis, I don't hear Black Americans making all that complaints about racism and all that. But if on the internet, maybe, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Black American on my mother's side. I'm Trinidadian on my father's side. So, we go out the country all the time. Well, you know what I'm saying? I'm all for going to Africa, but saying Africa is a better option for Black America to me than America. I just don't see how we can do that without significant amount of Black Americans going over there.
Listen, let me make it easy. Just stay in America.
Right.
Well, not just that. The problem is that people are all going to the same place. And anytime you get a whole bunch of people doing a mass exodus to the same place, then you end up with a lot of problems. Dynast just talked about Atlanta. You talked about Atlanta as well, where people, all went to one spot. And then it changed the area. Well, that's what you're experiencing in other places, in Ghana. Everyone's running to Accra because of the year of return, when there's plenty of other options in other places within Ghana and outside of Ghana that could be options for people to go, so they don't overwhelm the area and the infrastructure that they're going to.
Just to add, there's still a lot of places to go in the greater region of Accra. There's Shy Hills, there's a brewery, mountains, the Accra just expanding. So you could go north of Accra, you go east of Accra, you go west of Accra. I'm in the central region right now. I'll be there next week, and I feel like, look, if you plant your feet on the African continent, you're gonna find that there's a lot of things that's just missing that we have access to in the United States, and then there's things that you wish we didn't have, that you could kind of set the standard there,
right,
for these things not to come through.
And one thing
I just think that makes sense.
And one thing Dynas does point out, though, like, let's be real, we are kind of a bunch of hypocrites. That's one thing I got to agree with Dynas, because like a lot of African Americans literally spend a good, like, almost millions of dollars to go to Europe and Mexico, and majority of African Americans don't even know more than one language except English. So what is the excuse? A lot of us don't know Spanish like that, unless you're from.
But what do you mean hypocritical of what?
Like this,
a lot of Black Americans, when it goes to traveling anywhere outside of except for Africa, they're not as critical or have all these reservations.
Well, nobody's saying move to Europe permanently. Y'all saying we should move to Africa and be Africans because.
What did I say? What did I say that?
No, but for me,
you said Black Americans complaining should join up with the Proud Boys, right? And do all that because they're trying to be white people.
What did I say?
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying how we go from trying to be white people to now we should try to be Ghanaians.
I didn't say that.
Well, for me, the thing is, I know is with African Americans, I even see this on Instagram sometimes about traveling other cultures. One thing I know about African Americans, we're subconscious hypocrites. A lot of us spend almost millions of dollars to go to Mexico, like during the summer, and we'll literally try, Black men and women, will literally try to learn to speak Spanish. A lot of Black people go to Brazil, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. A lot of Black men and women also try to speak Portuguese and look around the culture. Same thing for France and other parts of Europe and European countries, like in France. We will not have a hard time trying to adapt. We won't bitch about it. We'll try to adapt, whatever. We'll do whatever it takes. But when it comes to the continent, we won't give it a sec. We will not even try. It's like, okay, what's a Ghanaian phrase? Or what's a Nigerian language? Or how I say hi, this and that. We don't put that much effort into the continent to at least try to learn.
Yeah, but apparently that's a what I guess what would you call that? Travel. That's like a promotional thing. Because soon as Ghana said to go to, we got the year of return. We changed their whole economy locally. Apparently, I was watching an interview with the NAACP and some lady from Ghana, and how Black Americans increase Ghana's tourism money by like billions of dollars. So I mean, if Jamaica got some Come to Jamaica ads, and Mexico got all this ads of Cabo and all this other shit, I mean, Africa got to reach out to Black Americans. Dynas was just saying that. Was it yesterday or the day before? You said, Nigeria and all these other countries need to do the same type of, back to Africa type of deal. I'm pretty sure if there was more positive imagery based around tourism, more Black Americans would go over there. I don't hear any Black Americans. I personally don't hear any Black Americans saying I'll never go to Africa or and all that.
I agree with that. I met a Ghanaian woman with her kids on the train, and her son name was Kofi. My name is Kofi. I was like, wow, we have the same name. And she straight came at me and was like, yo, how come your people don't know the meanings of the name? They should, before they adapt the names, there's a lot of hostility coming from people coming from Africa coming here. And they're not like my parents' friends. My parents had Nigerian friends. They had African friends. They really reached out to the point where they were responsible for all of our names. But it seems like the modern Africans, the Africans are our age, they're coming here. And they're coming here on some like anti-Black shit, and they're not teaching us. They're not saying like, look, y'all should come to Africa because blah 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 blah. Now that's not happening a lot, because on my end, I did meet Zimbabweans who said, look, come over, in forms of like relationships, like, hey, learn about Africa, But I feel like also a lot of Africans are coming over here and having bad relationships. It just be bad love relationships. Who knows?
Yeah, most Africans I know, when they came over here as childhood or whatever, got teased or whatever. I've witnessed that, and I've had nothing but positive relationships with Africans on a personal level. What I'm saying is on an advocate, like you're saying, all Black Americans don't want to go to Africa. Well, the only thing we've seen about Africa for the past 50 years is negative imagery. I'm saying as soon as Ghana put out positive imagery, and all these other Africans, Pan-Africanists, put out positive imagery of Ghana, Black Americans went over there. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't see why.
I disagree, because the majority of the imagery that comes out of Mexico is cartel related, and Black folks still have no problem going to Mexico.
Exactly.
Nah, I mean, when I don't see no. I saw cartel shit for like a hot second, but if you turn on Instagram, all these chicks out there is at this jungle gym in Mexico, ziplining in Mexico. All these there's even this one African dude who's like the passport something on his channel. He's always in Mexico. I just don't see as much stuff going on in Africa as far as we need to up our tourism promotion, and that's all. There's a majority of stuff I've seen going on with Ghana has been in the last few years, like the last couple of years. But prior to that, I wouldn't see anything unless it was like one Black America with some shady cell phone footage of Ghana. There's not been some big campaign to promote Black Americans to come to Ghana. And as soon as I saw it with the year return.
Again, my point is, where's the campaign where Europe and Mexico is reaching out specifically to Black people?
It's nonstop. Everything, all we get is positive imagery of Europe.
Black people specifically?
Huh?
Okay, so you're saying that there's a campaign where Mexico and Europe and Asia says, "Hey, Black people, come and visit us."
If any movie, you don't see movies about Mexicans getting killed by the tens of thousands, or you don't see news clippings of Mexicans getting killed by the tens of thousands and screaming and getting their arms chopped off.
Cartels, are you serious?
Yeah, but it's you talking about yeah, but bro, it's totally different. It's mixed. It's mixed. I don't. When Mexicans come over here, we don't think, oh, this nigga might be cartel. When Africans come over here, all we got is disrespectful shit to say to them. It's totally different. The relationship between Mexico and America and Africa and America is two totally different relationships. We don't see feed the children and talking about children in Mexico. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like there's a bunch of positive imagery of Africa.
Okay, but here's the thing though.
Hold on. Let me pass it to Jonathan and pass it to Wisdom. Go ahead, Jonathan.
All right, thank you. How y'all doing, brothers? But the topic that you put up is why Black Americans fall out of love with Africa. And through my experience when I was a kid, I used to hate white people a lot. I blamed them for slavery and shit like that. But as I got older, we went through history, we found out the Africans sold us into slavery. That's where that hate comes from. So when people say like, oh, we hate Africa, we don't hate the whole of Africa. We'll go to South Africa. That's one of the main places that Black Americans go to. They specifically hate a region of Africa. And that's specifically the region that sold us into slavery. And when they acknowledge that they sold us into slavery and they try to fix the relationships that they have with Black Americans in Caribbean and people in the Caribbean, then maybe we could have some good dialogue about people really wanting to go build in Africa.
Yeah, but the again, hypocrisy is the same people who don't like Africa are not trying to separate from white people who put you on a plantation.
Can I get in on something you just said? You highlighted that South Africa wasn't the reason that sold us. No, that's not what it is, because South Africa has a racial history of its own. What Black Americans enjoy is going someplace that looks just like America, and that's what the problem is. They want American amenities wherever they go.
Mexico doesn't look like America, sir.
Okay, well, I'm speaking of the two regions that you talked about. Okay,
Jamaica doesn't look like America. Haiti doesn't look like America. Barbados doesn't look like America. So that's a lie.
I don't think it's a lie, sir. What I'm saying,
you don't think it's a lie, but I'm telling you out the gate. I just named a whole bunch of places that don't look like America.
Got you.
So your argument fell apart right there, because all the countries that you just named. Let's talk about another part. When we going to go to Africa, with the exception of South Africa, but specifically West Africa, how many places are those places are visa free? That we could just buy a plane ticket and go there.
Right now, Senegal,
1,
Togo,
2,
Benin visa on arrival,
3,
Gambia, Gambia,
4.
Sierra Leone.
Ghana just suspended that restriction. They took that restriction away for people who have property projects on Ghana.
Sierra Leone.
People have properties and things like that in Ghana.
Sierra Leone. Go ahead.
We included that already.
Okay.
And you talked about my argument falling apart. What I'm saying to you is that the issue with black people is that we only want to go places where white people want to go.
No, you want to go places where the problem is what you're saying falls apart once we open our eyes and realize that. Let's talk about a simple fact. I want you to understand something, bro.
Mm-hmm.
When you say we were sold by Africans, did we walk up to those very Africans that sold us and say, please sell us? Or did they have to capture us?
Jonathan, the issue with that, I'm not saying that Africans were complicit in the slave trade. The point I'm trying to make is, okay, if you have all this animosity for Africans, why are you not trying to separate from the white people who you guys complain about every other month or every other day? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Diners, it sounds good saying that when Africans and Americans have their own land, have their own state or some shit. But we never had that, have we? We're not even in the majority, are we? We're not even half the population, are we?
But you can have it.
One of the no, don't say you can have it.
But
you're not even being realistic. You're not even being realistic when you say we can have our own damn state in America.
I didn't say in America.
We are a very small percentage of the population. Now, when you talk about, because a lot of times on this channel, we get compared to a whole lot of people. The Indians, they come over here and they just build and they do well. The Nigerians, they come over here, they just build and do well. Well, nigga, they got a connection back to their homeland. Where do we have to lean on outside of each other in America?
You're not
you can create that
question again.
Create that.
If you have all this heat for Africans, why aren't you trying to separate from the white people who bought you? That's the part.
Explain how do we separate, sir?
Instead,
wait. Before you go on, I want you to explain how can African Americans separate themselves with the very same animosity that they have for Africans?
Instead, we chose to integrate with them. The same people we complain about who bomb Black Wall Street. The other side of the story, what they don't tell is that we built Black Wall Street and completely neglected it so we could integrate with white people. That's the point I don't understand. Okay, you don't like the African because, again, you don't like the African because the role he played in the slave trade. I get it, fine. But we chose to integrate with
wait. Before you say that, don't say we don't like it. Okay, fine. Why the hell don't Africa repair that shit? Is that simple to repair it? It's not that difficult to come over here and say, you know what, one, we're sorry. Two, we want you to come. You don't need to apply for a visa and you don't have to pay for a visa on arrival. You don't have to go through a whole bunch of bullshit to get residency. We're going to offer it to you. That's a whole lot different. Because Don, I remember when I first started watching you, this was years ago. You went to somewhere in Africa. You went to the slave dungeons or some shit like that. Didn't you pay for that?
Yeah. I pay for it.
Why the hell you got to pay for that, Dinus?
It's some BS.
It's some bullshit, right?
I agree.
And it's bullshit you got to pay to go there. It's bullshit you got to pay to see the shit that we done been through. And something that should be so sentimental and sensitive towards the people that's from there that got taken through that shit, you want to charge us for it. That's some bullshit.
Right, but again,
so if African Americans have a problem with Africa specifically, because that's the topic, there's a whole lot of reasons for them to have that animosity.
Hold on. Can
I? But if they African countries build the bond,
then I want to pass it to Wisdom.
Then I'll change.
I hear you, but we still chose to integrate with the white people who we continue to complain about.
I don't hear them. I don't think that's a really good argument at all. First of all, if you open up something, you know, we need to get over this idea that we're supposed to get everything for free. Okay, there has to be commerce and things have to be, money has to be made for maintenance of the places and everything like that. I have no problem going someplace and having to pay my way to get there. Who? There's no other group that expects things free for when you go someplace and you're traveling and stuff like that. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
All right, let me pass it to Wisdom. Wisdom never sleeps. Go ahead.
Hey nephew, how are you?
I'm good, Unc. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Every time there's an Africa and American conversation, they want Africa to make them feel wonderful. Because that's what it said. What are they making us feel welcome? Or why don't they repair when they're talking about reparations here that they keep knocking down? So if you're going to go with the repair part and the selling part, then you must, okay, the seller, the buyer, the perpetrator, all those involved. The one that put out the edict, which was the Catholic Church that started with the slavery, with the Portuguese and all of them from the beginning. So it's almost like you're saying, well, mom and dad, you the one sent me over to the white man to work, because that's what you thought he said he was going to do, and he paid you, he's going to take us to a better life. But yet he enslaved us, he beat us, and he did all these things to us through lineages. Now we went to Jim Crow, we went to all these things, and dogs and water, police brutality, and we're killing ourselves now because we took on their nature. We're also doing all the stuff to ourselves as well. And there's no repair there. So if you're going to want your parents to repair, giving you away or selling you what they thought wasn't slavery, or to get trinkets for you with a promise of something different when it was not that, then when are you going to hold accountable here in America? And the collective still vote 90+% of the time for the people that were the slave buyers, the slave owners. You're still voting for them as a collective body. So, but long as they make you feel good, feel like you're somebody, give you a pat on the back, you don't challenge that. But soon as Africa is brought up, oh, wait just a minute, they sold us. Wait just a minute, they don't put out ads for tourism. And Dynas, when you first went to Africa, was there an ad for you to go? I think you said someone suggested that to you.
Listen, somebody suggested it, and I went. Like, I didn't ask the question. Yeah. I got my ticket, and I went.
Right. So what you and many people are doing, hold up. What you and many people are doing now are suggesting to people like it was suggested to you. It is not a solution for them. It is not a prerequisite. It's not a mandate. It's suggesting an option to any other places that you visit, that you spend your money. Now, if you're talking about you want Africa to have visas on arrival and all this stuff, how many of us as a collective body have gotten together, even in letter form, signed petitions, and send every country in Africa?
Why the hell do we have to do that?
Wait, hold up. I let you talk and didn't say a word. So this is time for you to really hear what people are saying and not be on your emotional response so fast. When you say that, you're saying what Africa may not know what we want as a people from them in many countries. Many of those countries have still got people in place that was put by France, Europe, America, and all of those which keeps the policies against you from joining your ancestry anyway. That's what you don't understand as well. It's a lot of those people, the puppets there, not the body on the floor. So, and then when you mention about some coming angry when they see what they have seen and been shown is that Black people supposedly live so great in America, have all these opportunities. So when they come here escaping from what y'all perceive as poverty, they're angry because why are you not taking advantage of the country they show us that you're doing so well? That's why they're frustrated. And then they end up in the same role as you sometimes. Sometimes they do better. But sometimes, for those of you who still believe in the Bible, and it says you have not because you ask not. So if you don't ask anything of anyone, they don't know what you want from them. I would not know what you want from me. I'm not telepathic right now, so I couldn't assume. I don't like to assume anything. And if I'm just hearing you talking, I got to understand really what is the bottom line you're getting at. So it was asked a question earlier to Real Munger. Where is the ad specifically for Black people from all these countries they go? There are none. They're just ads for tourist ads. That's all they are. That's all they are. They're not headed for any Pacific African American. I talked to a lady at one of the banks I bank at one time. She was getting ready to go on vacation. She said, "Ooh, I'm getting ready to go. I'm going to Mexico." I said, "Why are you going to Africa?" Ooh, they told me I got to take all them shots. I said, who told you? That's what I heard. So that was the original stuff, because I remember Dinus talking about that was always the first thing people was talking about were many shots. Was it right, Dinus? That was true. So we always have something that we don't look into further or from someone that's been. But what I'm getting at here is we got to get out of this hurt and emotion, and we only want to have that vitriol for Africa and not the people that's keeping us where we are today, or as what we perceive. So Africa had a few years and they sold you. You've had 400, 500 years, whatever, but you will not, you refuse to bend the knee and say you surrender here in America to what you call white supremacists and their rule. You won't fight back against them. You won't push back. You won't say what you want, but you still want to remain, and that's fine. But
Black Americans have been fighting back against white people for a long damn time. Why the hell are you lying?
The last, you can say the last consistent fight was civil rights. Ever since then,
but
I mean,
all the anti-Black American inflammatory shit niggas is saying is kind of corny though. Like,
where's the new Black Panther Party?
You can't say,
new Black Panther Party ain't doing nothing, bro. Come on.
The thing, what I'm saying, gentlemen, is what I'm talking about collectively. The civil rights supposed to have been really about human rights, because that's what we was not considered as humans. We were supposed to be fighting for our human rights. That's why every other people can come along talking about civil rights, because there's civil court and criminal court. So civil just means as a civilized way of treating you, not as a human being. That's what we should have been fighting for, and then we still would have been separate and yet equal, because they'd have recognized you as human. But when you talk about civil rights, and then you marry into, but you give up everything that you have, that you were still progressing on, just to be part of what they have. And even that was a process, because even when you got there, you couldn't drink out of this fountain, you couldn't go in the front door, you had to go to the back door. They still took your money.
Mm-hmm.
But you were still not great to them. And it's still that. You're still about revenue. We as a people from Africa, those that said it was here before, was all about revenue. We was the first stock on the stock market. We've always been revenue, and we're still consumers now. We're the revenue. And until we understand we have no ownership here, and you have an opportunity to go and have ownership somewhere else, and you still want to bring up your own barriers, that's really not there. So we need to stop all this. We're men and women, I thought, of a certain age, that we need to start saying, you know what? Yeah, that hurt. Yeah, that don't look good. How can I get a resolve? Let me get with some people that's already going. Could you send this message over here so they'll know what it is we're looking for and why we haven't been? We are going to be grown-up adults to start always talking about what is the resolution? What is the solution? The solution is that you find a way to resolve first what's bothering you, and then say, okay, as a collective, I may not agree with this, but somebody has a point here. How can we make this work anywhere in the world for us? Because we have no friends as a people, no friends anywhere. We may go.
My thing is, where's all the anti-Black American hate coming from then? Like, I don't understand if you're saying, yeah, go to Africa. That's fine. That's why I joined. That's why
I answer your question. The anti-Black American hate is coming from Black Americans.
It's true. That's where it's coming from.
It's
you don't want to receive it, but that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's where it's coming from.
What's the number of sleeves? You're literally being one of those people who hate Black America for some reason. Now, one thing I don't understand. One thing I don't understand. The hate for Black America is that, one, we are a very small percentage of the American population.
And why?
We have no ties. We have realistically no ties to our homeland country, correct? Yet at the end of the day, y'all try to compare us to other people who have correct connections to their home country. It's stupid. It's literally stupid.
Jonathan, sir, stop running. I asked you you said that before, and I want to get to that. Why are we such a small population here in America? Let's give me the reasons.
What'd you say?
Why are we such a small part of the population here in America?
We were never the majority in America.
Why are we?
Even if you want to, if you remove Hispanics,
No,
Asians,
come on. You're not.
etc.,
This is what
we're
you do.
still literally not in the majority.
I have a
And you're
child.
comparing us to African countries who are literally in the fucking majority.
Hold on.
Not,
Hold on, Mr. Hold on, one mic. Jonathan, he asked you a specific question.
I want to. Y'all keep going all the way around.
Okay. Hold on, one mic. Hold on. Wisdom never sleeps. Ask the question again, and Jonathan, please ask the question.
Jonathan, why are we such a small part of the population here in America? That's what I want to know.
a lot of us was killed off.
Wait, how and by whom?
White people.
Oh, Jonathan, come on, man. Jonathan.
Okay.
I mean, it's obvious.
Wait.
America isn't.
But the problem that I have is, why would you compare a group of people
Jonathan, we don't have
to African countries that were in 90% of the majority?
Jonathan,
they're 90% of the majority in their countries.
Jonathan, come on. You saying that Black America themselves in the last several years don't have a part while we still remain at 13%. I can give you a few reasons, but I think you know.
It's abortion.
One, because that's millions of those a year.
Listen, I'm here in Atlanta. Not too long ago, there were 2 Black youths killed at Atlantic Station by
murder is the other one by each other. That's another one. What's the other?
Listen, if you add up all the Black people that killed themselves, if you add up all the Blacks that died from bad health, still pales in comparison to one genocide that doesn't happen in Africa, bro. That's you trying to compare apples to oranges.
Real Monger, listen at you.
Real Monger, please don't bring up facts. Don't do that. They don't like that shit.
No, that's false.
I'm not saying what he's saying as far as numbers over there is wrong, but now you want to use Africa for your argument when I'm talking about here in America.
I'm not using Africa for the argument, but
I'm not against Black Americans going to Africa. I'm against all the anti-Black American rhetoric that come out this channel.
I said, why won't we address our part now in the last several decades that we play a part in the continuous amount of the population remain at 13%? No one want to take accountability because we've done it.
Where's the number sleep? Did you live in Africa? And if so, what country?
I am here in America, where you are.
Then please shut the hell up, because I'm in Nigeria and being here since 2019. That's some bullshit. That is some bullshit. I'm tired of hearing about people in America, living in America, talk about why we don't want to move to Africa, and you don't live in Africa. That's some bullshit.
I didn't say I didn't want to move to Africa. That was real mama.
Why the hell are you still in America?
No.
Come to Africa, bro.
You talking like you are still in America defending the white people. That's what you talking about.
No, I'm talking like I'm sick of you people on here disrespecting Black America as if y'all live in Africa and you don't. That's bullshit, bro.
I asked the specific question.
You can blank up 1,000 problems with Black America, but you won't acknowledge the fact that Black Americans are in a different circumstance than people in Africa.
But I asked you
literally in a different circumstance. So the matter of fact, hold on, because you, listen. If you want to criticize Black American for our failures, fuck it, do so. Criticize us for our failures. We'll take responsibility for our failures. But don't try to make it seem like other countries in Africa are shitting on us. That's bullshit.
Black America's not taking responsibility for the failures.
That's what I'm talking about.
I would go as blaming Africa for the problems of Black Americans.
Responsibility for its problems. Then you can sit up here and say Africans are not taking responsibility for their problems. They had control over their continent, over their countries, far longer than we could ever possibly have in America. And if it's fucked up in Nigeria today, it's because it's Nigeria's fault. But in America, we're not the majority. We're not in the majority. We don't have the political power. We don't have the financial power. We literally got a gigantic excuse. But if you're in Nigeria, you in Ghana, you in South Africa, you anywhere. Matter of fact, let me get South Africa out there and take them out. Kenya, if you're in the majority, you've been ruling your country for a long ass time, you got no fucking excuse for your country to be in the way that it is.
But Jonathan,
Black America literally got a gigantic ass excuse.
From your emotions, when you can always easily tell when a person asks you for facts and then you either say shut the hell up,
Yeah, but he just gave you a whole list of facts.
I
Now
gave you a
need
whole
to
bunch of facts. And the biggest fact is you live in America.
No, what I'm saying to you, that's
Come
why
on,
you
brother.
correct, and because you can say it that way instead of keep having the conversation going. I've been doing this a long time, talking to people, and I know exactly what you're doing, and it's okay. You still a brother, no matter where you are. You gonna be okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, roll image. Go ahead, roll image.
When it comes to the selling of slaves, Africans selling each other, particularly when we talk about Ghana, the Asante is they recorded as the Asante was the one selling their own or the slaves to the not slaves selling their own to the European, right? But when you look up
Fonte as well, the Fonte as well.
Hold on. Majority the Fonte was under Asante, right? Because Asante
No,
was
the Ashanti's in the north, Fonte's on the coast.
Listen,
the Fonte comes from Ashanti.
But Masa, listen, I'm Asante, okay? I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm also Ghanaian too.
Okay, one sec, right? Before Asante came in power, the Nchira was in power, right? And then in Kumasi area, 4-6 of them put themselves together, overthrew the Nchira, and then became superpower. And then that's when they got the name Asante, right? And then from there, that was the 1700s, right? The reason I'm saying this is slavery started at what point? And why are we saying that Asante was the one that was feeding the European with captives and all these things? Again, sometimes when we talk about history, we need to be careful and really understand that all these things we read are coming from the same people that are supposedly our enemies. So I just wanted to put that out there, right?
So what are you saying, Roland? What are you saying?
What I'm saying is history. We need to be careful with the history because most of the time you hear...
Yes, we need to be careful with history. You're right. You're absolutely right. African Americans have been going to Africa since the 1780s, and without the help of the government, we had ships, and some of us had our own ships and had it back there. Then yes, the government would step in and they would fund voyages over there. The reason why Liberia fell mainly is because they didn't teach the correct type of history to their people. I would say during the beginning of the 20th century, like the early 1920s, 1930s.
Who didn't teach?
The entire government, the entire government took on missionaries from the South and placed them into Liberia to teach them. And they always told this one story. Your forefathers are mulattoes. They told that same stories. Your forefathers are mulattoes, and they mistreated the indigenous people. But that was completely untrue.
I'm not from Liberia, so we
have to talk about the entire West Africa because the entire West Africa was involved in the slave trade.
You need somebody from there to give proper.
I'm still trying to get your point.
Yes.
As an African American, we are from each of these countries.
Hold on. What I'm saying is,
I'm trying to. What's your point, World Image?
My point is, when we keep pointing fingers and okay, before you can catch a horse, you need a horse. You see what I'm saying? So,
bro, you got to get to the point, brother. What are you
my point is, they were controlling most of these areas. The people were already under them, so the people were doing their work. It's not like the African was willingly saying, "Hey, Dynast, I'm gonna capture you and I'm gonna go sell you." I was working for Master already. You see what I'm saying?
Who are they? Who are they?
The people. Remember, the European has been there from the 1400s.
Hold on.
They were not strong enough. They weren't strong, and they weren't stronger than the Fonte or the Ashanti.
Who?
Can you drop the history lesson,
No,
please?
hold on. Dynast, I want to get to my point, Dynast. I want to make sure.
We're not going to overcomplicate this. Africans were complicit in the slave trade. Like, we're not going to overcomplicate it. Oh, we didn't know. We was working for the white man. We're not going to water it down. Africans were complicit. We're just going to leave it right there, Roland. Then bring on U.S. lawyer. U.S. lawyer, go ahead, U.S. lawyer.
I would say with this whole thing about this whole over focus on Africans and the slave trade, I think we have to realize that it's irrational to think that those boats that went from Europe that were sponsored by Europeans, kings and monarchs and other people who sent those boats to Africa, who have superior weapons and superior technology, if you think for a second that they were going to come there and leave without slaves, you're delusional. These people, a lot of times, if you went on one of these, if you were sent on one of these missions and you came back empty-headed, you lost your head. So there's no way those people are not going to leave without slaves. So no matter what African did, there was a slave trade. There was going to be a slave trade because there was a demand for it, and the people who wanted it had superior weapons. And you also got to consider the fact that the entire continent, with the exception of Ethiopia, was actually colonized. And they lost anywhere from 50 million, I think 15 million along in the Congo. It's anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. 150 million people were killed in Africa. So, I mean, this pretending as if there's some kind of equal fault. The other thing is Africans never practiced lifetime racial slavery. I mean, generally slavery is for a crime or you captured by a tribe, and there's generally some period you merge into the tribe. What was practiced on this side when they got in them boats was a whole different thing. So, I mean, and secondly, that whole conversation about that is really self-defeating because all you're doing is giving white folks in America a legal basis to start denying your right to receive reparations. Because all you're doing, you're just handing it, it's like going to court and handing your opponent the legal theory that they need to defeat you. It's asinine. So, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. And then the other thing I'm gonna say is, not everybody is for Pan-Africanism. Not everybody's on this boat. But one thing we got to stop doing is entertaining these people. We got to get more focused on keeping a positive outlook, trying to produce things that will advance us. Because the bottom line is, this world is global now. And people who don't have a global system in place, that don't have global connections, they're going to be left behind. There are no borders anyway. There are no boundaries and borders. The boundaries and borders don't mean what they used to mean. And if you look at all the people that are in charge now, who the globalists and these people don't see boundaries. They only see economic opportunities and other things. And we cannot allow ourselves as African Americans to miss the opportunities that arise in Africa. We can't allow everybody else recognizes it. Everybody else knows Africa is the future, but we seem to be stuck on this petty East Coast, West Coast kind of mentality, blood script. We always this divisionary thing, this divisive thing. We got to stop entertaining those people because they take up a lot of energy and they keep us distracted. And I think we'd be a lot better if we just focused on the things that we can do to promote the things we're trying to promote. And so far as that's international or intercontinental trade and intercontinental business and intercontinental relations, I think we'd be better to focus on that. Let those other people, let them go have their spaces. Let them do what they want to do. Keep them out of your spaces. And it's not for everybody.
I agree. I agree. But let me just say this. Listen, let's not try to recreate history again. At the end of the day, in 2023, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the hardcore facts. Yes, some of our African people did sell out, but it wasn't the majority. That's one. Two, African leaders from since the year return gave an announcement and apologized for their involvement. Did the Europeans ever apologize to us, especially on national news, for their dehumanization of us? No. And what Africans doing to compensate for that? They're giving us citizenship. The lands be African again. They're letting us be around them again. They're giving us opportunity to build businesses, giving us that peace of mind. We can build Black families, great infrastructure. We can take the continent to a whole new level now. Everything we did for America, we can literally do for the continent. It doesn't have to be Ghana or any part of West Africa. It can be any part of the continent if you wanted to. The entire continent recognized what African Americans went through.
I think that's wonderful, bro. I agree. I think what you're saying is wonderful and dope, and I agree. That's why I subscribe to this channel. My problem is though, when I get an alert about one of my favorite YouTubers going live, I see how Black America fell out in love with Africa, and all I hear about is anti-Black American shit. So why would I want to go to Africa if everybody don't like Black America?
Hold on. No, one mic. Real Mongo. What did I say that was anti-Black American?
If we fighting for reparations or we fighting for identity to be recognized as foundational Black Americans or Americans descendants of slaves, that we might as well partner up with the Proud Boys or other white nationalists. Like that statement makes sense. That don't even make no sense. You understand what I'm saying? Now I'm all for. I'm a Pan-Africanist, bro. But I'm saying you can't be a Pan-Africanist and anti-Black American. And if Black Americans want their own singular identity, I don't see where there's a problem with that.
Let me add something. I want to add one thing before I get off here. This whole thing about, I understand what the brother just said, but this is something, this is the economy that Black people live in. The average Black person in America is a member of the same party that raped, enslaved, and murdered those slaves. They're the same party, they're a member of the party that imposed segregation. Most of the Democrats voted against all the 63 to 60 civil rights bill, okay, as a percentage. Okay, also, they imposed the KKK, they destroyed the Black family. So you and Joe, they just elected a segregationist. Joe Biden was a segregationist. They elected him to president. So how are you then upset with the Africans and talking about slavery and asking for reparations when you are a card-carrying member of the party that has roughed all of that pain and misery on Black people?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I personally don't say those things about Africa. I got a positive outlook about the continent. Now, if you're saying, yeah, the Black Americans as a whole have a negative outlook on Africa, it's not because of, I don't even think Black Americans have a problem with Africans because of slavery. Most Black Americans don't even think about Africans on a day-to-day basis. If we're talking about specifically the Blacks that was entertaining the idea of going to Africa, but they don't want to do it because they saying something negative about Africa, it's usually because of the negative representation that Africa has had in the media. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't have too many negative interactions with Africans where I could say, oh, they call us a cotton and all that other shit. I've never heard of that. It's actually been the opposite for me. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like, if being a Black American is so negative, what do Africans stand to benefit from having us over there? And if we got to change who we are to go over there, why should we go over there? And it's not a comparison to compare it with Latin America, because I'm not saying Black Americans should go over there on some what is it, like to visit. I'm saying on a permanent, serious basis. I'm all for that. But I mean, if everything that we stand for is negative, why should we even go to somebody else's country and fuck it up?
Well, I don't think everything we stand for is negative. We do have a lot of negative elements amongst us, but everything we stand for is not negative. And the reason we should go over there is why the same reason that white folks who have such a negative history with Africa, part of the reason why Africa is having such a hard time arising is because it's still economically colonized. And what I mean by that is they're still tied into these economic systems of the West, and those economic systems are designed to keep them subservient. And they also have all these bases and stuff over Africa. And the problem you have is when you don't go along, which we're learning now with, which we're revisiting again with this Ukraine stuff, when you don't go along with their plan, then they do things like impose sanctions, they can cut off your ATMs, they can harm your economy. And it's going to take a little while for Africa to extricate themselves. The whole world let me finish what I'm saying. The whole world right now is trying to extricate themselves from that system, including places like Saudi Arabia, where they're rich, but they realize they're dangerous, and other countries, South America, all these countries that have had to kind of been like extorted for a long time. They're trying to get on this BRICS thing, even Turkey. They're trying to get into the BRICS thing, and they're trying to get from under this economic system that's very exploitative and debilitating. And Africans have a problem there. But it's not like you can do it overnight, because if you do it out in the open and you openly oppose them, they fund insurrections in your community, they assassinate your leaders, they destroy your economy. So it's a very delicate operation to extricate yourself from these Western European systems. So
let me say this. The best exchange, in my opinion, African Americans can get to Africans, and what Africans can get to us, is a great exchange. Like, for example, I'm talking about the decent African Americans, the ones who are not corrupted and dysfunctional. And we can teach Africans literally white supremacy inside and out with all the history we have in America. A lot of Europeans go to Africa. A lot of people don't. A lot of white people go to Africa. There are even videos about white people being mad at African Americans going to the continent now, in every country, especially like in Tanzania and South Africa. Do you have any idea how powerful it is if African Americans taught Africans how to take on the Europeans?
Yeah, I agree, but here's my thing though. But I thought
hold on, one mic, U.S. lawyer, one mic. But again, we continue to overcomplicate this. All right, I never said move to Africa. All right, this is what I said. Once again, The amount of grievances that Black people have here in America, all right, all I'm saying is there is nothing wrong, or actually would be in your best interest to seek options outside of America. But for some reason, when I bring up Africa, Black people get offended. That here come all their grievances, but for some reason they don't have this same energy for other non-African countries, which is just weird.
I'll add this before I get off here. Here's the thing: we got to stop worrying about everything other than how do we prosper. And what I mean by that is what we can bring to Africa is we can bring our energies and our talents and help develop Africa there, but to do it in a way that's a mutual benefit, because that's all they need to see. All the other stuff doesn't mean nothing, because I'm saying if you're working with people, if you're working with Africans and they can see that you're providing some mutual benefit to them, what other people say, it doesn't matter. And also what we do need, Africa has a lot of resources, there's a lot of wealth. No group of people have ever risen without having some kind of a homeland. It hasn't happened. Okay, so as a matter of fact, if you look at the Chinese, they have a homeland. The Jews, that's why they went through all that and had a homeland, so you can prosper. You got to have some place that you tie yourself to as a group. And that place generally has to have some resources and minerals and some other things. There are a lot of benefits. Africa's got a population that is young and is thriving and is smart, and you have all of the elements. You've got the minerals there in the land. You have all the elements for the future industries of the world. We just need to get over there and show that we just offer what you have to offer as a person, and offer what we have to offer collectively. The rest will take care of itself. The rest will take, because people will go by what they can see versus what the propaganda that they hear. And truthfully, I've been all over Africa, and I have not had a negative experience. I got deported one time from Nigeria because I showed up without a visa. But even though they deported me, they were the nicest people. And the brother that deported me told me, he said, "Everybody's been nice to you, huh?" I said, "Yeah, everybody's nice to me, but you're making me go back to Ethiopia." Well, they're trying to send me back to the States, but I told them, I explained to them legally why they could only send me to Ethiopia, because they said everybody goes back to the home country, and that's not the law. But the bottom line is, the brother who deported me, he told me, he said, "Everybody's been nice to you." He said, "Because we consider you our brother." That's what he told me. And you know that I got a visa and came back a year later. When I came back a year later, that same brother, when I walked off the tarmac, who put me on the plane last time and deported me, was standing there waiting for me. So I'm gonna make sure you don't have a problem this time when you went through. So I mean, and I have friends all over Africa. I'm not seeing that problem. But I think
it makes sense that you were deported?
The what?
Do you believe that it makes sense that you were deported?
I believe it was their law.
Yeah.
Why? So do you believe that the law should be changed so you couldn't be deported?
But you're not going to change them by just chitter chat. I mean, the bottom line is, I went back there, got help. It was their law. They get money when they deport you. If an airline takes you to a port of entry and the airline has not secured not making sure that you have the correct visa for entry, the airline not only has to pay your transportation back to your original port, it also has to give them, I think it's either $2,500 to $5,500. So it was a money thing. Okay, I understood that. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to hold a grudge with the deportment. That was the law. I looked online. I've been traveling to other African countries. I've never needed to get a passport in advance. I get a visa in advance. I've always, like Ethiopia, other places, you show up. Kenya, you just show up and get a passport at the airport. I didn't know you had to do South Africa. You don't even have a passport. You just walk in. So I didn't realize
it's just a West Africa thing.
Being a visa, being a visa.
Visa. That's what I mean. Not a passport. I mean visa. But the bottom line is, I don't hold them against that. But I could get hung up on, I shouldn't have been, deported. Or I can look at the fact that the people that deported me were treated me as a human being, treated me as a brother. They were just doing their job. But they made sure I was comfortable. They had a little thing in the hotel. I mean, in the airport there. I think they've got a new airport since then. This was 2018. They had a little thing in the airport, a little place where they held people over. Instead, they took me out of there. They took me to another place that they had in the hotel where they had food and a whole bit at. Not in the hotel, the airport, I mean, because I never left the airport. But what I'm saying is, they treated me like their brother, and he made sure I understood that they saw me as their brother. So all this other nonsense I hear, and I got folks that are calling me from Africa all the time. When you coming back? When you coming back, man? I love you, brother. So a lot of this hype about Africans don't like you and all that other kind of nonsense. It is what it is. It's nonsense. Okay. And it's over exaggerated. And there are people who are exaggerating that because they're building these platforms around it. They're making money. They're getting subscribers, all on that whole theory. They have turned the whole concept of creating division between Africans and African American into a business. And that's the problem we're having right now. So I'll leave it at that. Appreciate you.
Have a
I
good day,
think we
buddy.
should go
That's a
back
good one.
because we're, as blacks in Americas who,
Hold
as blacks who are enslaved.
on, Mike. Let me pat. One way's been way. Go ahead, one way.
What's going on, Dynast? What's going on? I'm here in the ATL, you know, listening to the conversation first time on. Appreciate all your content. Now, about this whole subject, I know it makes good content, and I want you to keep down this road. But the real is, you know, when we talk about other options and having Africa as an option, which I'm in favor of, we start to like beg people, other African Americans, who the ones that are giving the pushback and that we're really pleading to, are those really the ones that's going to help build anything? Do you see scholars and big time businessmen arguing that point? Typically, the point we're going to get, I mean, I'm not shitting on nobody because I've done all the little work. We're going to get the forklift operator, the dope boy, the Walmart greeter, and even some, regular jobs too, that's going to be, it probably wasn't going to go anyway. It's just that they're triggered by what you're saying. They're not trying to go anyway. They're just triggered by what you're saying. The people who are that have the ability to help, I believe they go anyway because they more see opportunity. And if they're not going, it's not in their mind, or they haven't heard of the opportunity yet. And I think more outreach is needed for them, because just like that belligerent lady the other day that came on when, what was it, Friday or Thursday?
It was Friday. I think it was Friday. No, was it Thursday? It was one. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's people like that are the ones who are going to argue. A lot of people say, "Oh, no, I don't have no problem," but they do have a problem, and and most of them didn't have a problem until they heard Tariq or Yvette Carnell, and it's a rallying cry for somebody else to blame. Now, the whole African sodas thing is true. It's true that, but that's like some Africans. That's like an African who got killed by a Crip, in South Central, and then all Africans talking about every black American in California is one way. There were certain Africans, certain tribes that were complicit in the selling of slaves, and not all tribes. Now, these people who are African American, we, taken, brought here. They come from some of the tribes that got conquered. You know what I'm saying? And then the people who, this is the thing, African American here, the people who took you, who helped take you, most of them got captured too and sold. So you're like, I'm ADOS, I'm FBA, yeah, I'm FBA, but yo, great, whatever, was likely complicit too. And then your relatives who cried your taking way back then, you shitting on them. And you shitting on other ones who had nothing to do with nothing. But it's that lack of understanding, that lack of historical context that that the people we're talking about, the unlearned, the lower rung, you searching for somebody to blame. Yes, most black folks here that are arguing against your points, Diners, do want to be white. You said they want to be part of the Proud Boys. That they would love. This is what they would like, to be able to go to a cookout full of white people with trucker hats on and eat apple pie on 4th of July, cry when they play Proud to Be an American, talk about other people from around the world crazy. If they could just do it together and they could just treat them right, that's what most would want. But white folks ain't letting them do that. So you just gotta let folks, land where they land. But keep talking about this stuff because I love it.
All right, let me pass Jewel of Nashville. Go ahead, Jewel of Nashville. You got to unmute yourself, Jewel of Nashville. Jewel of Nashville. Going once, going twice. Okay. Wisdom never sleeps. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've heard the Proud Boys brought up a few times. And what most people may not know is that several of the Proud Boys have black wives. Just like with ADOS and FBA, most of them got white people. So that's why they are factions as well. So when they bring up things like Proud Boys and everybody else, they are married to sisters. Several of them are. And so we have to look at things deeper. But like the U.S. lawyer was talking about, a lot of stuff was done at gunpoint and things like that. But we got to get away from our emotional things and start thinking from a logical standpoint. And I will say this because I've heard you several times. You have never promoted or pushed for anybody to go to Africa. There was a suggestion and told them to watch a documentary and, make them.
Well, like I said, the reason why, part of the reason why I've been encouraging Black Americans to go to Africa or visit Africa or seek opportunities in Africa is because all the complaining I hear from our people here in America. So I'm like, hey, and I gave a list of complaints and grievances. I'm saying, well, won't you guys seek opportunities outside of America? By the way, I've been going to Africa. I've been received. It's great. Seek opportunities there. But you have a lot of people in Black America who just get triggered when you mention Africa. It's like, well, you claim you catching hell here in America, and that the white man and the police officers and, the gentrification and, the highways being ran through our communities and all this other stuff. Hey, seek opportunities outside of America. But Black folks get triggered for some reason when you say,
and they keep being complicit in they voting for that type of leadership to keep that same system going. And they never want to believe that these people really did create the KKK. They are the ones that's the real racists at heart. They just make you feel good and smile better. And the other actors of the Republicans, I believe a lot of times they just don't supposed to say too much or reach out because they want you to be over there under the thumb of the people that's really making the policy. So if you look at,
you know what? Sorry to cut you. I somewhat disagree, and the reason why I say that, there was this Black Republican who's in congressman, who was being interviewed by Joy Reid, and
all that.
Right, and so what happens the minute a Black person, I guess, goes over to the other side, to the right? Here comes Joy Reid and all the other Black talking heads who the Democratic Party has a battery in their back. Oh, you sell out, you white, like just by default before they even open their mouth and express why they're Republican. So
no matter the facts, right? No matter the facts they give.
And the guy was dropping facts, but again, it's Joy Reid. So,
and that's what happens here a lot of time on your panel, even when I'm just listening. In other panels, a lot of time, no matter what facts are given, the emotional responses and the narrative always scream louder, and they figure they're right with that instead of saying maybe something's wrong here. So we just have to stop as a collective being complicit in our own situation. Like I said, we're going to complain. And I think, to me, I've seen this so much. They complain so much that what they think is a reason really is an excuse. It's really defense. It's really a deflection way of doing things because it's time out for the complaining. If you have an issue, yes, state the issue, but what are you doing one way or the other? Whether you're supporting somebody that's doing something, if you're not doing yourself, but you're supporting, or you're doing it, you're joining, you're doing your part. But what are we doing versus complaining? And so I understand that it gets exhausted about, if you really have so much issues with what's going on here by the open enemy, as they call them, why not have some type another way or another place to go or backup? But I will always say this, and what they will not tell people, there will be no reparations here unless you have unless you're part of a nation. No nation or nationhood, no reparations. It will never happen, ever.
True.
So trust me, it will never happen, no matter who's telling you all this falsely. If you don't belong to a nation, and if you still say you're American and African in here in America, you're American citizen, they feel they owe you nothing because they gave you everything from civil rights on. Because you became a ward of the state once Emancipation Proclamation. You just left from the slave owner to become ward of the state. So they've taken care of many things, given you many things you asked for. They receive you into their matrix or whatever you want to call it, to their system. So somebody can talk about reparations all the time. They repair nations. That's what it means. That's what the word means, to repair a nation. And until you become a nation, whether you here or part of a nation or a body that's called your home, there would never, listen to me carefully, never be reparations from this United States of America to people that's called black.
All right, guys, if you want to call in, link is in the chat room. Again, if you want to call in, link is in the chat room. Click on the link. Also, please hit the like button. We'll stay on for another 15 minutes roughly. But again, if you want to call in, link is in the chat room.
Hey, Donis, you said you asked why for some reason people get angry about the whole Africa thing when it's brought up.
But it's not even that. It's just, so when I first went to Africa in 2011, all right, number one, I wasn't invited by any Africans.
Mm-hmm.
No, there wasn't a national campaign. Hey, Dynas, come to Africa. Number two, when my friend suggested that I go to Tanzania and Zanzibar, instead of just listening to the stereotypes, I picked up my phone and I Googled Tanzania and Zanzibar. I said, oh shit, this shit is lit. I'm gone. So when I hear people bring up the stereotypes and, all we see is the negative stereotypes of Africa and all this, I'm like, you don't have a phone, you can't Google?
From the same who don't like stereotypes about them, that there's plenty of stereotypes, especially in this country and outside the country of them, they like the stereotype, people with the same skin. But they're angry because Africa represents duty. When you talk about Africa, it's looked at as not built up, suffering from this, suffering from that. In the back of their minds, just like everybody knows in the back of their minds, we're supposed to be doing more in the black community here in America, to get it on track. In their minds, they're saying the same about Africa. So it's a lot of running from duty. And I think that's subconscious for a lot of people. They say, they know what's supposed to be done. Black people are not stupid. We're not a stupid people. But the work we figure it'll take to have our own is too much. That's why it's easier to scream. A lot of people screaming reparations don't even believe it. It just, it's like telling a new business idea to somebody and they get hyped for a day or two because they think they're going to get rich. And then by day 3, it's on to something else. So, it's Africa represents duty. That's the problem. And
I would say going to Africa, telling people to go to Africa is equivalent to Kevin Samuels teaching women how to get husbands and how to maintain their families and how to be happy in life. That's the equivalent to it. And I feel like there's a lot of degeneracy here. And You know, history says that we were bought here in bondage and in slavery. Now that it's 2023, you know, I feel free. So I feel free to erase that part of my lineage, go to Africa. And once I'm in Africa, once I made it my free will to go there, I erased that. I easily erased that part of history. Now it's my free will. I have free will to come back if I decide that. I feel that I feel I'll rather die in Africa a black man than to die in America a slave. And that's how I feel. It's straight rotten to the core here.
So in essence, what like one way of saying is that we talked about the other day builders and building. And so I guess the bottom line is, since they said that our ancestors or whoever built this country, this JD's generation don't want to go and build another country, which is supposed to be the homeland. So we don't have to go to work in the duty way because we've already done that one time before. So Africa needs to have everything ready for us as a reward to come home, and everything's laid out for us, and we'll be all right.
Yes. If the whole Africa was South Africa, I don't think it would be that hard of a sell. Matter of fact, if the whole Africa was South Africa, Zimbabwe, you know, the capital of Namibia, I believe like a third of African Americans would have already left and been back in Africa, if not more. But you know, it's, you know, there's places that are and places that are not, and people don't even know of the other places that are. So it just represents duty, you know, I got to do. Because again, let's just take America. In the Black community here, there's a lot more that we should be doing that we don't do, that we know we should be doing to make the Black Americans, the whole economics, you know, making your dollar circulate, more people going to school for real things instead of everybody rapping and being athletes and whatnot. There's a lot more that we should be doing here, but we don't. So of course, Africa, although Africa is the easiest path to reparations, because all these minerals and goods that the West needs from Africa, I believe it will be easier for African Americans to go to Africa, you know, get into culture, and after a generation or two, you know, get control of those resources, you know, and then you start making demands, because then you have leverage. You know, well, we need reparations, because no reparations, no cobalt, no reparations, no uranium, no reparations, no cocoa. But just begging for it, all it's doing is stuffing the pockets of scamming YouTubers. So
the majority of Africans don't have access to those resources that you're talking about.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I said African Americans come there in a generation or two. You know what to do. You know the white man a different way than they do. You get in there, you put in the work. It's not going to be tomorrow. It takes a while. Your kids teach their kids. You come up in those ranks. You do whatever the plan. You got to lay out a plan. Nothing just comes. You got to lay out a plan, and then you got to go get. But if nobody wants to do it, it's not going to get done. You know. But that's the way to reparations. You have to have leverage to get anything major. You know. And that's false. That's false that African American, the Africans don't have control of these. Some people don't, but that's a wide statement that's erroneous. So
why don't the Africans have control over their own resources?
Who you asking me?
One way. Have you been to Africa before?
Yes.
Where?
Nigeria.
What part?
Delta.
Delta State.
Anambra State. Equally.
Okay.
Newi.
And when you travel around Africa, when you travel around Nigeria, how do you travel?
Car, bus, plane.
What bus? You mean like God is Good Motors, Yari Motors, or something like that?
I traveled. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Okay.
I can't remember.
There's like vans, right? There's vans. There's
They're just vans, bro.
trotros.
They're not no real buses like that.
Why don't the Africans control their resources? Is what I'm trying to get to.
Business, capitalism.
So all Africans don't control any of their resources. Is that what you're saying?
I'm asking a question. I'm not making a statement.
But that's not a. That's like asking me why it's 5 + 5 13.
You said we should go over there and take control of the cobalt.
And in a generation or two.
Yeah.
Right, because the Africans don't. I'm saying, why don't they?
No. I didn't say that they didn't. I'm just saying.
I would say the
listen with
government.
With what we know, with what we know about white supremacy and what we know, we live right next to white people. We see how they work. We see how they control shit. Maybe I'm not high up in African government, but what I'm saying is the easiest way to gain power for us, because you only gonna get it in blood here. You may have to get some in blood in Africa, but
You're gonna get it in blood in Nigeria.
But whose blood? What would be easier? What war you think we would win easier? But I don't think it's not even. You don't even have to go to war. You just have to immerse into the culture. We can't immerse to the culture here because our skin is different. So our skin ain't different there. So you go in there, it's like a clandestine type of thing, but not against the people. You merging with the people, but you got a plan. You got a 50-year, 100-year plan, and then we get it. We know what to do with it. You pass what you know down to your kids, who pass it to their kids, and their kids might be the one that get it. But it's not going to be a thing probably that we would get in our lifetime, but it's something that, just like the white man, he made plans. He knew how today was going to be 400 years ago. We have to do the same thing. That's all I'm saying. We go up in there, we spread a certain way. It might not be the whole continent. Maybe we focus on a certain area. I don't know, but that would be easier to do. To get reparations, and not just reparations, just power. Just
that was my point. Like it's not even about reparations. It's apparently it's about to be a higher quality of living, right? If we don't have a high quality of living here or comfortable living here in America, we should try Africa, right? That's cool. I'm all for that. I'm saying, in order to get Black Americans over there, whether it's 10 people or 10,000, why do we have to speak disparagingly about the Black Americans that's here?
Hold on. What did I say that was disparaging?
About if you want to have your ethnicity recognized, you might as well be with the Proud Boys. And we always talk about whites shooting us, which I don't hear any of the gripes that you mentioned really, other than on the internet, other than other YouTubers and motherfuckers that
there was a whole movement called Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, and you don't remember COINTELPRO. You think Black Lives Matter was a real organization for grassroots?
We were all behind it. Everybody was behind it. Folks was in the streets.
The whole world was behind it.
The whole world was behind it. So there
were white people
called Black Lives Matter. And them folks took 90 million and dipped.
And that was grassroots, right? George Soros ain't funding that. That was we ain't never seen another movement before created by the government.
The point I'm making is Black people supported Black Lives Matter. I don't care who put money behind it. I don't care about George Soros. It was a movement that was supported by the majority of Black folks.
Right. Well,
I don't think the majority of Black people supported Black Lives Matter.
At all.
Man, I know Black folks was behind Black Lives.
When you say we did, are you saying you did?
No, I'm talking about Black people as a collective, not 100.
Black people as a collective supported Black Lives Matter.
I know Black folks supported the sentiment.
Wait a minute.
Everywhere.
The same.
Last time that I was in Oakland and San Francisco, the only people that got Black Lives Matter bullshit hanging down on their windows is white people. Not even Black people.
It wasn't.
When you say that we supported it, what do you mean?
We don't hang shit out the window. We do hashtags.
We don't hang shit. We do hashtags and talk. We don't hang shit.
So a person that says hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Nigga, that shit was everywhere.
You believe? Wait a minute. By saying Black Lives Matter, you're saying that they support the organization.
The folks that supported The black people as a collective who supported the Democratic Party was behind Black Lives Matter. Supported Black Lives Matter. I know it. Hell, my mom was yelling Black Lives Matter.
If you had enough money not to work,
I want to understand
and go
the
to those
definition of
protests.
supporting something. When you're supporting something,
I sure didn't.
You go to the protest. When you're supporting something, you put your money into it. We know for a fact black people wasn't doing that in math.
No, that's not true because black people don't put money behind the Democratic Party. We don't go to none of their shit, but
Of course not.
We still vote.
We don't participate in none of that shit. Black folks mind their own business. That's what I'm trying to see. It's a conflation. Like, why even say all this shit about Black Americans when you know we barely support any of this shit? We all just minding our business. I'm saying the average Black American really just be minding their business.
Let me talk, but we still vote for the Democratic Party in mass. We don't.
I don't vote for no damn Democrats. Do you?
Okay, dude. You see, you're being disingenuous. The majority of black.
I'm asking, do you?
I don't vote for the Democratic Party, though.
Okay.
I did it.
How about we just when we talk about African Americans and Black Americans, how about we just don't on this channel?
No, well,
Pan Africanist people. How about you just don't diss African Americans? It's kind of it's just out of pocket.
Ain't no on this channel. This is my channel. Now you can always start your own channel. You can always start.
So you saying that you intentionally diss African Americans?
I'm not dissing anybody. I'm just again, this is where this started. The amount of grievances that black people have in America. I'm just saying, see other options outside of America, and y'all just get emotional and triggered.
No, I agree with you, brother. The only part I just feel is triggering.
About Nigeria.
Excuse me?
When you come to Nigeria, do you hear grievances about Nigeria from Nigerians?
Absolutely.
When you go to Ghana, do you hear grievances about Ghana from the Ghanaians?
Absolutely.
That doesn't change no matter what country you go to, correct?
I agree.
But if we have grievances, we might as well be Proud Boys.
But when our people leave the United States of America, we come to Nigeria, are we going to have a different grievance?
I don't know.
How many times have you been stopped by the police and asked for money?
I've been stopped by the police and asked for change a couple times.
How many times?
A couple times. I just give it to them and I keep it.
I can't even count no damn more. How many times have you arrived in Lagos airport and they were trying to get money out of you? My brother, do something for me. My brother, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. How many times, bro?
I get escorted through the airport, so I don't have those problems.
Oh, so you're not like the normal people, right?
I get escorted through the airport.
Well,
pretty much. In order to stop all that shit, you gotta be like a mobster or something. You gotta be like in a mob. You gotta create your own mob. It's like it's either that or you just give up the money. That's the only way. Or get security. Either way, you're gonna pay. You gotta pay for shit like that. For simple shit.
Guys, we used to pay the police when they stopped us here years ago.
We ain't talking about here years ago because you're saying go to Africa. Well, if you come to Africa, well, let's talk about what goes on in Africa.
You never heard me say out of my mouth, go to Africa. So stop.
You just said it earlier. Then I asked you, did you live in Africa? You said no,
I didn't say that.
There was a time.
So what I'm saying.
There was a time where you couldn't even talk about Africa if you haven't been there.
What I want to go back to was something that I think Jonathan answered in a way that was brought up by a real monger. Was talking about controlling the minerals. And I think, Jonathan, you said it may take, you said a generation or two. Is that correct? For that to occur?
I didn't say it may take a generation or two.
Well,
Not the generations of Nigerians. Hell, the majority still ain't got the access to the resources. So why the hell would I think Americans are going to go over there to Nigeria and have access to the resources in a generation or two? That's foolery.
Because he was saying that most Africans don't own their minerals, because most of them have been a country and they own freedom in about 60 years, if I'm correct. And most of that stuff was colonized and contracted out anyway already. So some of them are just now starting to take back control of their main source of minerals or cocoa, whatever they're doing. They're just now starting to do that. So yes, they may not always own it because it's been colonized and owned by the colonizers for hundreds of years. And some of them just now getting independence as young as 60 years. And they're trying now to start taking control of that. So that's one reason most of them don't control most of the minerals.
And
What Mike? But John, see, I think, Jonathan, your focus is too much on Nigeria. I've never been bribed or asked for anything in Senegal.
My brother, I haven't been bribed to ask for anything in Kenya. But
why do you keep
ladies and gentlemen of the channel, I do want you to know I'm talking about where I live. I don't want to hear about where you don't live. Talk about where you live. Because if we talking about, come to Africa, let's build here. Shouldn't you live here to build here? And when you live here, shouldn't you live in the common areas where the poor people are, not where the rich people are in Nigeria? You don't build in rich areas. That's kind of stupid. That's like me leaving Compton and I'm about to go build. Where you building at? I'm building in Beverly Hills.
What's wrong with that?
When you talk about Banana Island,
what's wrong with building in Beverly Hills?
People live in
Victoria's Island.
And build.
I mean, hell, you might as well go and say, man, I'm building right next to Burna Boy house.
Why not?
Building this thing.
People live in Alpharetta and build down southwest.
If you want to build in rich areas, listen, my problem is if we come into Africa, are we going to build Africa? Because I'm sorry, but I don't want to be around a whole bunch of rich ass Nigerians talk about I want to build Africa. If there's people in the middle of Nigeria who don't have the same resources as the people that have it in Acacia and Lagos Island. So I thought when you're going to go build something, you build where shit ain't being built at. Why are we building in places that are already being built? That's my biggest criticism. So Dines, when you said the other day, you don't have to live in Benin City. I want to be in Benin City. I'm not complaining about Benin City. I'm saying don't criticize African Americans for not wanting to come to Africa. Not you specifically, but other people on your channel. Don't criticize African Americans for not wanting to come to Africa if we already know what the real circumstances are when they come over here. They're not even going to get comfortable. Dinus, how often have you got sick when you was in Nigeria? Just by being here.
I never got sick.
Never. Any part of Africa?
I maybe one time I had a runny stomach because I drank some bad BSAP, but I've never got sick.
And when was the longest time that you ever stayed in Nigeria or any part of Africa?
4 weeks.
What?
I said 4 weeks.
That ain't long enough, bro.
A month.
That ain't long enough. I've been in Nigeria since 2019. When there was an SARS movement, I was out there fighting with the people that's talking about SARS.
Good for you.
I literally been in Nigeria. And when I hear about people talk about black people should come to Africa, I mean, at least tell them what the hell they got coming up against them.
Well, don't go to Nigeria. There's 54 countries.
No. If you want to build, come build. There's 54 countries, but if you come in, like there was a sister that made a comment on your channel. She says, I live in Abuja. I ain't got that problem. Yeah, but you didn't come here to build. You came here to live. If you come to Africa to live, fucking
Are you saying you can't? Are you saying you can't?
But if you come in to build,
you can't build in Abuja. You can't build in Abuja. I see plenty of building in Abuja when I was in Abuja.
Plenty of building in Abuja. So basically, what other people have already built upon, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of those resources. Instead of, I thought we were coming here to do good because we're supposed to develop Africa.
Right.
We're not developing Africa. Hiding out in fucking
Abuja, Lagos, these countries still need development. These cities still need development. They're not. You can't say
the most developed cities need development. That's like me saying San Francisco still needs development, and they're developing at the moment.
San Francisco
but the impact,
has a homeless problem.
The people in Abuja, the impact. People outside of Abuja, outside of Lagos, look to those areas and be like, one day I wish I can live there. I don't make enough money. So to come up over here and go to the rich areas and talk about building is kind of fucked up. You building the broke ass part. That's like when let me talk about one of them fake ass scam ass organizations, UNICEF. I ain't never seen a UNICEF truck not one time in my life, but they got a whole damn Instagram channel about it, how they're out there helping the people. But when I look at them, they go to places that people don't really be at. It's just not cool.
Same with the missionaries.
If you're going to tell people to move to Africa, I want you to live here too. If you're going to tell people to build in Africa, I want you to build here too. But please don't be building in the rich people areas like you scared of the locals. That's all I'm saying. Why criticize Black America?
Is everybody in Abuja rich? Is everybody in Lagos rich?
In comparison to the rest of the country, you're damn right.
Yeah, that's your opinion. That's not true.
No, it's
I know.
fact.
No. I know people getting to the bag in Oshobo and in Ile-Ife more than people in Lagos and Victoria Island.
We're talking about the common people, sir.
And
I can talk about, I know Black Americans get in the bag. You get in the bag, I'm getting the bag, Brenda's probably getting the bag. A whole lot of Black Americans are getting the bag. But then we're talking about the masses.
Okay. So are you saying there's more poor common people in Oshobo than there is in Lagos?
Certainly.
That's not true. That's not
Certainly.
true. That's not true at all.
Wait. When you say Lagos, I want to make something clear, because you always specifically bring up the islands. There's normal Lagos. There's Kokiri. I mean, not Kokiri. There's a Corridor. There's other parts of Lagos.
I would say this. There's a higher standard of living in Oshobo than there is on the island. Yes, you have wealth on the island, but I can tell you right now, there's a higher standard of living in Oshobo than there is on the island. And that's facts.
I think people that live in rural areas have an advantage than people that live in these cluttered up cities that were built based on modern temples, modern templates, and colonial templates. Now, when you're going, most people that are coming to Ghana, they're building way out on the outskirts of the cities. And they just have an advantage because they get to control their ecosystem a little bit better than the inner cities of any African country. That's why you see capitals moving away. You see capitals moving.
You live north. You live in Ghana, bro?
Yeah, I lived in Ghana I made it to about 18 months, 14 to 18 months.
You Ghanaian or you Black American?
I'm Black American. Black American.
So
my dad Bahamian. My mother's from South Carolina.
Okay, so if Black Americans came over there and built like a little Black America town, do you think there would be a little bit of outcry from the local population?
They're already doing it. It's already been done.
Yeah, it's already being done. The only thing, some of the families who own the land, some of them renege, meaning like they've been paid twice. Like they'll say that Hennyman, the king that we put in charge, he didn't compensate us. He didn't compensate our family for this land enough. So we want more. So what they'll do is they'll put in a court order to stop the building on that specific land. Now that doesn't happen to everyone. This is just something that just happens. And yeah, sometimes you got to pay. You just got to pay again. It might be another $700. It might be another $1,000. It depends how many acres you have. Do you hear outcry? Like, no, they only allow you to own like plots and acres of land only if a clan and a family thinks it's going to be beneficial to them. And most times it is beneficial to them, because when African Americans are coming there, when Blacks from the UK are coming there, they're going to put in a infrastructure and the type of money and the standard that's going to be generated is going to change the entire area way faster than what diasporan who left Ghana could do.
Right.
That's happening all over Ghana, and it could happen all over Africa. Can I afford to be there? Hell no. But I have support from my family. My dad is there now. He's been there with my daughter and my wife from the past 2 months. And he also went to Ghana with me, and we've been going back and forth. And I talked to the Ghanaian community in New York, and I feel like, look, especially if you have children, if you have a family there, you're gonna do everything possible to think about the future of the place where you're bringing your children up at. And I've seen some amazing things out there. I just wish we did have a little bit more help from our government. But which
government? Ghana's government or America's government?
No, the U.S. But at the same time, we're I guess we could get into private equity. It's not hard to raise capital within our own country. You could do it without the government. You just gotta build a brand, build a face, build an initiative.
Go ahead, Cash Zulu. Unmute yourself, Cash.
Peace. Thanks for having me on the panel, Dynast.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my wife is Ghanaian, and I'm gonna be going to Ghana for the first time this year. I always was interested in trying to like obtain land, like acquire some plots of land in Ghana, but I heard like it can be real sketchy. Like people have been scammed, and I think it's less likely to happen to me considering that my wife is from there, so they're a little bit more established and they plugged in to where that I got like more of a safety net than like a black American that's just coming there that don't really know anybody there that's established. But y'all got any pointers or any ideas on how I should go about that?
Just be careful when you buy land. I mean, your wife should know some people, but just thoroughly.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, only
on.
go through people that own land
Yeah,
already.
PF Cutters. PF Cutters, go ahead, PF Cutters.
Good evening to everyone.
Yes.
I just want to make a comment here concerning to what Brother Jonathan said. Now, he said basically that, okay, he went there to build with the commoners. That's very noble of him. That's what we want to hear. But then he's complaining about the lack of amenities that the locals have to deal with. And I remember in the last stream that he was on, he complained about the situation where one of the locals got shot and the ambulance didn't come. There was no ambulance service. And I remember Brandon and they was asking him, well, since he speaks about South Africa so much, it begs the question, why didn't you go to South Africa? Because if you talk about you want to build the commoners, but then the drawbacks and the compromises that you have to deal with when you go to those less fortunate communities, then
Sir,
why did you go there?
with
Then
all
why did
due
you go there?
respect, it was a response saying why African Americans might not want to come and why they should be respected if they don't want to come. There's a difference between me saying Africa has a lot of problems. Fuck Africa, I'm out of here. I'm still here, buddy. And I'm still helping people out. But if my people in America don't want to come, I understand it and they shouldn't be criticized for it. So what the hell are you talking about?
What I'm talking about basically is that from your responses, you're complaining about the compromises that you have to deal with. But then you big up South Africa because it's so developed. What I'm saying
not
is
complaining about the compromises. I have to deal with it. I don't think you understand.
I
I'm
understand
defending
very
Black
clearly, sir.
Americans if they don't want to come. I'm here, buddy. I'm
I
here. I can get the
understand.
hell up and leave tomorrow if I wanted to.
I
I'm
understand.
here.
I
There's
understand
a
what you're saying,
difference.
but the point I'm making is that you highlight more the drawbacks than the benefits of making a decision. That's the point I'm making.
Sir, with all due respect, I can highlight the benefits right here. There are a lot of nice people in Nigeria. There's business opportunities in Nigeria if you know how to get down technologically. There's a whole lot of business opportunities in Nigeria if you got hella money. That's not the majority of my people in my damn country. So I'm not going to have this fake outlandish belief. Like, yes, African Americans come up over here. Yeah. Oh, no, you can't drink the water out that thing. Yeah, I know. If you order an Uber, a taxi driver, they might not come at all because, you live in a bad neighborhood or you live too
Well,
damn
same
far or
thing with
some shit like
Brazil.
that.
But I have a
But
theory of why they don't want to go to Africa. I'm pretty blunt and honest. You don't know me. My name is Anna. But I go on a lot of these red pill spaces, and I'm very well known. I just never heard of your channel. You got recommended to me.
Who said we're red pill?
I'm not saying you're red pill at all.
Trolling shit out there right now.
I'm not trolling.
Well, hold on,
You know me.
Go
I
ahead.
am not a troll. I really.
Okay, well,
I am.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just an open-minded person. The reason why I think that Black guys don't want to go to Africa because the majority of them are like dark skinned, and I really think that they're not that beautiful.
All right, go ahead.
Huh?
Yeah,
Right. So I don't know what she was talking about. Go on. Rubbish.
I heard of Shorty. Shorty's mad wild.
So what I'm saying, brother, with all due respect to your brother Jonathan, you need to understand is that, for example, what are the measures that you're doing in the community that you're in right now? Like, what building are you doing at this point in time?
I can't talk about that.
Oh, John, you full of shit, man. What are you doing?
Oh, no,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I can't talk about it.
Jonathan, what are
I
you
can
doing?
talk about it off the channel.
Why y'all gotta
Send
press
an
the man?
email.
Why y'all
Other
gotta
than
put the
that,
man out?
I mean, I'll tell you something like this. I'll tell you something like this. And the reason why I tell you I'd rather not talk about it, because out here we deal with a lot of corruption. And in the corruption, a lot of times the people in the community tend to get robbed. So what ends up happening is we have people over here that record the people that do the corruption. And then we get enough people. And then we go to those very same places where the corrupt politician or the local Jewish person is there. And we try to get the hell that person up out of here. So should I come up here and talk about everything that I got going on? Or should I just shut the hell up and make the moves?
I respect that, brother. I respect that.
Hold on. I think you're full of it, Jonathan. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Hey, bro. You can check the paperwork. I'll send it to you. And you're also welcome to come to Benin City. I ain't holding you back. Matter of fact, I've been asking you in conversation to come to Benin for a long time, bro.
Okay, brother.
I got a quick question, Jonathan. And I asked this of several people that's already in Africa, working, building, and all that we talk about. Being in this global, being that a lot of people may not got in Africa yet, are you, and there's some are you, based on your projects, your vision of what you're doing and what you're building, eventually may take on investors in the diaspora?
Hell yeah.
Okay, great.
Matter of fact, just a one little weak ass giveaway we did recently when we gave away about $1 million. It's not a lot of money, but we gave it out in envelopes that said from your brothers and sisters from America, Black America. I could easily put my name on the envelope, but I don't do that. I say it's from Black America. Now, if that's some weak ass shit that I could talk about, y'all may not look at it as weak. I think it's weak because it's minor. But as far as other things, I can't talk about on this channel.
I respect that.
That's great, but what I'm getting at, let's say when you're ready, you get everything in line, you're trying to build up, whether it's roads, whether it's waterways, whatever. Will you be at least trying to find a way to reach out?
The African Americans to come over here? Hell yeah.
Not so much even if they don't come, but invest, have a plan on what is the return on your investment, or are you donating to it, but you're building infrastructure and things like that. Will you be soon reaching out to the money that they say is here in America through your Black counterparts to allow them to invest in the project we're building?
100% will.
Thank
but
you.
at the same time, as I do shit over here in Nigeria, I still want people to build in America for the people that don't want to come.
That was my next question. That was my next question. Why does so many people feel it's futile for Black Americans to be trying to have any type of forward progress here in America, where we know damn well we can't move all 40 million people that's over here to Africa? So to sit here and clown Black Americans for voting and for marching if they want to march, or doing anything politically or anything economically to play it off as if it's futile, I just think that's disingenuous to even the movement. As a Pan-Africanist, I personally believe I don't think I got to disparage Black Americans to come over there.
I want you just give me the statistics that back that we're moving forward as a people here in America.
Well, for one, I'm pretty sure we have a higher fucking we have a higher standard of living, period. If I wanted the internet the way I want it here in America, if I want certain amenities here in America.
I'm talking about as Black people. How are we moving forward? Give me the statistics, the numbers: wealth, income, house ownership, education. Tell me how we're moving forward.
I mean, I haven't studied the facts about moving forward, but I do know that we're in a better condition here than we are in Nigeria. And if we could build in Nigeria, we could build over here. You understand what I'm saying?
We should build in America as well as build in Nigeria and other parts of Africa and Haiti and Jamaica and Barbados.
That's my point. I just
asked the question as far as statistics, how Black people here in America are moving forward. That's all.
I personally do not know how we growing. I do know we have more Black American millionaires here I do know we have more Black American billionaires
I
here.
can tell you right now, the amount of money in Nigeria is not on the books. There are way more Black millionaires in Nigeria than America.
There's like 300 million Nigerians. I would hope so, but at the end of the day, we don't have people eating out the sewer. That's all I'm saying. We don't got to walk to wells. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Nigeria. What I'm saying is, if the poorest, Akon said it out his own mouth, the poorest Black American here is living better than some of the people in his country, Senegal. So what I'm saying is,
I don't think that's by our doing, though.
What's not by our doing?
That the poorest Black American is living better than.
Cassius Zulu, right now, and I did this when I was in LA. I tell this story all the time. So when I was a struggling actor and model, all right, somebody told me, "Hey, Dynast, you could go to the county office and go get an EBT card right now. Go in and walk out in 45 minutes with an EBT card." That's what I did. They ain't got that in Africa. So when you're bragging on how, you know, the poorest Black America lives better than African, yeah, because they got government subsidies.
Yeah,
I'm not bragging on it. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah,
I'm not. It's not. Go ahead, brother.
I was just saying that when I was talking about investing, it's not that people can't do. It's a lot of people here in America that's owning business and things, but they want to expand in the global market. And one of the main future global markets is Africa. So
I got to interject. Mark, I disagree with you. Have you been to Skid Row in Los Angeles?
No.
I've been there.
I had a mission. I used to feed homeless people on Skid Row. Skid Row by far had the worst living conditions I've ever seen in my life. And it's got
so I'm gonna pose a question to you and Jonathan. Out of the majority of Black people that's homeless there in Skid Row, how many of them would you say is of sound mind and able body?
It doesn't matter. The majority of, I've seen the worst living conditions on Skid Row than I did anywhere in Africa.
Huh?
Okay.
Our brother come to St. Pablo in Benin City. That Trump Skid Row in an instant.
But how many people on Skid Row is of sound mind? I mean, somebody who's mental health, who wants to stay in the street, is different from somebody who's willing to work and can't and won't and will live under a bridge or something. You know what I'm saying? I want, at no point out of my words do I want y'all to feel that I'm intentionally trying to disparage Africa.
No, but your argument was but the thing is, okay, so Black people make up, I think, 9% of the population of LA. 40% of that population is on Skid Row.
Like 30%?
Like 30 or 40% of that population is on Skid Row.
Right. Yeah, I think that's horrible. But
yeah,
it's not.
So like I said, that's worse than anything I've ever seen.
Okay. All right. But there's none of this exists in Africa.
Like I said, the worst I've ever seen is Skid Row.
And you think there's nothing we could do for the people on Skid Row? The work you was doing there was futile?
It's up to the people.
The people who's on Skid Row or the people that surround Skid Row?
It's up to the people on Skid Row. I feel like in America, there's enough resources that if you truly wanted to get off of Skid Row, you get off of Skid Row.
Right. So there's nothing in place to force them to be on the Skid Row. There's something going on with them as individuals, correct?
So what are you trying to see? Are you saying they're not accountable? Like, what are you trying to say?
No. What I'm saying is, are the people in Africa?
Your argument was the sewers in Africa, people eating out the sewers.
Right.
And
The people who are in poverty.
The worst
in
I've
Africa.
ever seen was Skid Row, and that's right here in America.
Right. So the people that are in poverty in Africa are there because of personal accountability, or are they in poverty because of government policies?
I don't know. Again, your argument was that people in Africa, the worst, the poverty, eating out of sewers and drinking out of sewers. I said Skid Row. So
right.
I don't know is the mindset of what. Skid Row is the worst I've ever seen.
No.
Specifically for Nigeria, the biggest problem holding people back is corruption.
Right. That's my point. What is your ability? I got Africans coming over here telling me I need to wake up in America because this is the land of opportunity, right? And to tell me now they're bugging, they're coming over here and making a good way for themselves, right? But Black Americans can't do that here. Is what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is the ability to move forward here in America is less than the ability to move forward in Africa? I don't. I'm trying to.
No, your argument was, so I brought up the point. You said black people are moving forward and building in America, and I'm just saying, show me the statistics to prove that. And then you brought up the whole drinking.
No, I said the standard of living.
Whoa.
I'm saying the standard of living in America is much higher here for blacks. So that to the point where even if you're poor in America, you're living better than poor people in, say, Akon. I'm quoting Akon on this. I'm not saying that about Africa. I've never been there, right? So if you're telling me it's futile, why are we trying to build in America? Because
I didn't say it's futile. It's just showing me the numbers that we're building in America. That's all I'm saying.
But also, didn't Akon say that if you want to be a millionaire quicker, you can do it in Africa as a black person than in America?
And I'm pretty sure he's right. I wish I had somebody in Africa right now that I could go build with. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not exactly a poor person, and I 100% see opportunities in Africa. I'm not speaking against going to Africa. Hold on, brother. Let me finish. I'm not speaking against going to Africa. I'm just saying I'm speaking against disparaging black Americans for not dropping everything and going to Africa. It seems counterproductive.
Drop everything. I didn't say drop everything. I never said that.
But this is why I asked Jonathan the question about taking on investors, which that's something that you should also ask.
You got Jonathan.
I've been thinking about that for 30 minutes. I plan on keeping in contact with him.
Connect, brother. We good. Just please don't quote one part where somebody says that goes with your argument and not all of what they said. So yes, he's talking about the poverty, but also you can become richer. So that's why I also asked Jonathan, who's on the ground himself, who's got projects in place that he can't talk about on here, but later on he may open up to investors from here like yourself, me, or anybody else.
That's because I don't possess any disillusion about the possibilities of Africa. I'm fully there, bro. I'm fully aware of the possibilities of what can happen to Africa. What I'm not positive about, or what I'm not in favor of, is all the negative things that we have to say about Black America in the meantime. I'm saying that we don't have to motivate Black America to be interactive with Africa through negativity. You understand what I'm saying?
The question Don was talking about is, why is it when you question someone, that's not being negative, that's asking a question to get clarity and understanding of why they feel.
Yeah, but we all know it's the same reason we was insult Africans when they came over here. It's all misinformation. Brothers like Dynast is doing the good work, showing the positivity in Africa. So when you like he said, if you have a negative outlook on Africa today, it's willingly, because you can easily pick up your phone and see positive imagery. There's still more positive. There's still more work to be done as far as positive imagery in Africa. I'm saying they need to brand themselves a lot more better to appeal to Black Americans. Because if number one, he said you could take a direct flight from Atlanta to Lagos. That's new. That wasn't around for 10 years ago when they were singing "Come to Jamaica." You understand what I'm saying? So if there's no movie like Getting Your Groove Back about a chick going to Africa getting her groove back. These women is going to Jamaica getting their groove back. So what I'm saying is, if you can't be surprised on how Black Americans have this preconceived notion of Africa when you know Africa's been receiving negative press for the past 100 years. It's a non-argument. I don't see the sense in it.
So, brother Jonathan, hold on. Go ahead, Miriam.
So I just wanted to say, there's so much to do. There's plenty of stuff to do for everybody. And if somebody doesn't want to go to Africa, first of all, I think right now, from the way we see Africa from America, I think pioneers are the ones who are going to go to Africa right now. And most people aren't pioneers. Most people are consumers, and they're going to stay where they're safe. And when they get the word that it's safe to go to Africa, then they'll come. But if we use words like come and build, they're not going to come. If we say come, words that mean pick up a shovel or something, they're probably not going to come. And that's okay, right? But at the same time, I don't think they should stay in America and not develop America. Because I don't know what Biden's trying to do, but things are changing a lot in America. And our community should be preparing too.
To hell with Joe Biden.
But that's what the black collective voted for. So I mean,
who else was they supposed to vote for? Between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, either one.
Honestly,
it wouldn't have made a difference.
No, but listen, you got the guy that said I got 500 billion for you or 50 billion for you, and you got the guy that said you don't vote for me, you're not black. I would have risked it.
I would have definitely. I feel you. So what's going on with the president of Nigeria? I think I just saw something about some president or politician over there on a what is them things? Like a bike, like one of them exercise bikes, some shit. I don't remember what the.
Bahari is supposed to be gone next year. Diana, she coming back to vote?
You leave February. No, I didn't register. But I think I could go vote at. In one of the consulates or embassies though. Cheetahs and hippos. Go ahead. Cheetahs and hippos. Unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dennis, thanks. I just wanted to say something about what Wisdom Never Sleeps. Something about what he was going on in Ghana. There was a businessman by the name of Pakwesi Indum. And I think this is around the year 2000. There was something called the Millennium Challenge Account, and the Millennium Challenge Account is pretty much money that the American government was giving to Africa to do infrastructure projects. Now, what Pakwesi Indum did, though, because he was in the States at the time, was that he was able to. You have to fulfill certain criteria in order to access that money. So what he did for the Ghana government was he was able to get access to the money by using his expertise in filling the proposals and whatnot. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because of this $50 billion that that Biden is talking about. That for something that African Americans could do or should be doing, and that's just my opinion, is that they should be at the forefront of that. We should be breaking down, okay, what is the criteria in order to get access to this money? And how is it that you play a part in getting it? Pakwesi Indum, at the end of the day, ended up buying a bank in the United States. So there's money that's there. There's money that's available. It's more about how is it that you're trying to access it. It's not everything is not just about, building wells or, or hustling on the ground. Some of it is just like helping governments get access to money that they need in order to develop. Thank you.
Okay. All right. PF Cutters, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Brother Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
Before you moved there to that village in Nigeria, did you visit there first before you went? And
yeah.
Okay.
I came in March 2019. Then I came back in October 2019 to stay for good.
Good. Okay. Because I wanted to know in case that maybe if you just moved there without visiting, maybe the conditions that you're living in now might be the reasons why maybe you have some discomfort, because maybe it's not what you're accustomed to.
No, when I first came to Nigeria, I was a clown. I was up there in Ikeja, going down to the island, going to Palms Mall, going to Ikeja City Mall, hanging out in all these little fine areas. Then I caught on to myself because I was also staying in an expensive ass hotel, and I said, wait a minute. Because I did this in Jamaica too. I said, wait a minute. I come to Jamaica, I come to Nigeria, right? And I'm in a wealthy ass places. I'm looking at white people all over the damn place. I didn't come here to be around these motherfuckers. Let me go where the normal people at.
Right.
And then I started building connection with the normal people. And then I said, well, I want to live around some normal ass people. And then I decided I'm going to live around some normal ass people. Then I said, well, then maybe we could start a business. Maybe we can do something, but some things have to be fixed. And one thing that we kept running into whenever we were going somewhere is that corruption. Always paying a bribe to do something stupid, something basic as hell. You got to pay a bribe every single damn time. We got sick of that shit. So I said, wait a minute, let's get these motherfuckers. Well, no, we got to go there. But and another thing, when I went to Africa, I went to Nigeria first. My main goal in going to Nigeria wasn't simply like, oh yeah, I want to go to Nigeria, I'm on vacation. I came out here for a particular purpose. And one of the things I wanted to do was make sure that African Americans, if they wanted to get citizenship, they can get a passport. Come to Benin City, I'll get you a passport. Before you come, just send me a passport photograph. We'll get you registered with the national population. We'll take care of all your biometrics. Just come here. You're gonna go to a passport office, take your picture, do your fingerprints, get a national ID, and then you're gonna get your passport, get the hell out of here, and go into West Africa. So you ain't got to pay for no more stupid ass visas.
Right.
I mean, I ain't in here just to have fun. I want Black Americans to come. Hell yeah, but I don't want us to have to pay.
I understand. Respect that. Respect. Reason why I
Am I
asked
wrong
is
for that,
because
Don? I don't want Black Americans to have to pay to travel around Africa. I think it's stupid.
I agree that that's a good point. The reason why I asked that question is because I just recently came from Ghana
Absolutely
myself.
not. Absolutely not.
I just recently came from Ghana a few months ago last year, and with a few colleagues of mine. They are still in Ghana right now. We stayed in Accra, in Greater Accra. I didn't want to stay there because I went to Mali because I wanted to live in the country life. That's where I accustomed to. I don't want to live in the big cities and so forth. I just don't like that lifestyle. So I went there. I was looking for land and so forth. I was going through the process and everything like that. And yes, there's areas where you have to pay people bribes and so forth. But I was willing to go through that process because I have a mission. I have some things I really want to get done. There's pros and cons to everywhere. And I realize it's more comfortable for me to live in the countryside than being amongst an area that's so expensive. Even though I have the means, I could handle it, but I could do more in a more less expensive environment, and I will have more leverage to achieve stuff, to build the empire I want, and to fix problems. For example, right now I'm going through the logistics right now of how to ship a few machinery with regards to recycling. Yes, there's some instances with garbage. I want to fix that problem. So I'm discussing with my team right now the logistics to ship some machinery from Europe, according to which price is better, or from China or whatever, to ship it into Ghana to get some recycling going immediately. And there's a better opportunity in doing it in Tamale than doing it in Accra. The costs outweigh, no, the benefits outweigh the costs. And the costs are way a lot better doing it in Tamale than doing it in Accra, for sure. So
I've
respect to
been
you.
there, but I can agree with you possibly that might be the case. I encourage African Americans to come to Africa. But if you don't want to live here, you don't want to build here, I don't give a damn. Build in America. I just don't want my brothers and sisters in America to be criticized because they don't want to.
Right.
And whatever plight that we have in America, even if you're a Pan-African, that's still your damn plight too. So unless you want to be pretending and think all African Americans should just leave America and come on over to Africa, that's foolery. You know it's foolery, so don't do it.
Who said that?
Nobody said
Not
that.
you, Dynast. Not you. Okay, we have already established. You didn't say African Americans should come to Africa. You said they should explore other options, and I believe the same thing. There's Jamaica. I mean, if you're willing to get down with the get down, there's Haiti. If you want peace, there's Barbados. You got a whole lot of options.
Brother Realmonger.
Yo.
You said your mother is from Trinidad, right?
That's right.
Right. Have you visited?
Father, my father.
Oh, your father.
Yeah.
Oh, your father. My apologies. Have you ever visited here in Trinidad here?
Has my father visited America?
No. Have you visited Trinidad here?
No.
Are you planning on to anytime soon?
No.
Okay, Romago, do you have a relationship with your dad?
No.
Okay, I get it. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
I dated some chicks from Trinidad. I'm from Flatbush, Brooklyn. You heard? So that's Caribbean enough for me. I'm good.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
But I'm just go ahead, brother.
Oh, no, I just said maybe you should come soon. We could build businesses. It's a well-developed area.
You in Trinidad?
Yes, I am here right now, actually.
Is it true? Medical school is free.
Actually, yes. Education is free here. Yes, right through.
Yeah.
Onto university. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about going over there for that, but other than that, I mean, I go over there looking for a wife or something because I know they.
If you haven't been to Trinidad, where all have you where all have you been? Where all you traveled to?
Just Iraq, Afghanistan when I was in the military, Canada and Mexico. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to go to Ghana, right? When I first heard about the land that they was giving out, the fee. I don't know if you heard about it, years ago, I think it was called like fee Hankra or something like that. And then I heard about the old lady that was over there involved with that guy getting killed. So I started looking at other options or whatever. Not that, couldn't be Ghana, but, trying to reach out to some, places where I knew people. And my girlfriend at the time, she was from Sierra Leone, and then so that was the move I was trying to do. But if I'm gonna go over there somewhere for Dolo, it's probably gonna be like he said, South Africa, because I'm not going out there necessarily on the first trip trying to build a school or nothing. I'm really just going to poke around and see what's out there.
Correct. Very good. Now it's best that you go to a country that is as familiar as possible, like your country in the West. I always advise people to go to a country and to a city in the continent that is easy for you to reside in for the period of time that you're in. Don't go to a place that you don't know, you have no proper information of, and then when you're there, you cannot deal with the compromises that is there, and you'll be struggling, and then your experience will be so bad, it will taint you from ever want to come back to the continent. Right. So
now my question, Dynast, do you think it's foolish for Black Americans on an individual level to stay in America and try to build up themselves?
On an individual, no. My thing is get your money. This is my plan. Get your money, get your resources, and I'm gonna put that towards what I'm doing in the continent. That's what I'm doing. But hey,
that's some great work.
Listen, if you want to stay here in America, and be an individual. Listen, you have the right to live wherever you want to and stay wherever you're at.
Right. So when we move to Africa, what do you think that there's any what do you think the cons are in moving into Africa? Like, do you think Black Americans are gonna go over there and just be happy and just be like, yo, there's nothing to complain about?
I don't know. I can't speak for all of Black America. I just like what I tell people, if Africa was that bad, my first trip would have been my last.
Correct. Right.
So, I can't speak for all of Black America. It's just,
No, I agree. But is America that bad though, too? That like, yo, we gotta escape this motherfucker? Like
again, I'm good. I had a nice corporate job. I'm college educated. I'm just going off the amount of grievances that Black people have here in America. I'm saying, hey, how about seek other options outside of America? And I've said, I've been going to Africa. Come check it out. And for some reason, Black folks get triggered.
Right. Nah, I feel you. I understand.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm not one of those Black folks that get triggered until people start talking crazy like, we just shitty over here and everywhere else is the grass is greener. You know what I'm saying? And I just it don't make sense to me based on the information that I'm picking up. I'm the type of person that likes to do a lot of research before I make a large step. You know what I'm saying? Now I was planning on, like I said, going over there to South Africa and seeing what's over there first. You know what I'm saying? And if, I feel like that's a place I can make a permanent move, you know what I mean? I'll do that. It's the same reason why I moved to Atlanta. It was very difficult for me to own a home in New York City. So in order for me to own a home at a more reasonable price, I came down to Georgia. You know what I mean? So now if I can do even more with my money now that I got a certain level of income, then, I'll do it makes even more sense in Africa. You know what I mean? But I don't want to move to Africa with my family and everybody looking at me like I'm crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's not that kind of a situation. I'm like the only person that's on that type of time. My wife will do whatever I tell her to do, but at the same time, I'm not gonna move her into a situation where she's gonna be miserable, or if she got certain medical issues, she could see them. I don't gotta fly back to America every month for a checkup. You feel what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And I'm also with the movement of doing a larger business, adventures out there. It just got to make sense. I don't want to get exploited for $700 every time I want to open up a shop or something, like this other brother was saying. I don't want to get stopped every 15 miles to get my pockets ran. I don't want to be running from crowds of people like Meek Mills. You know what I'm saying? I want to know exactly what I'm getting into. And I'm all for the shortfalls because it's a foreign country. You gotta, like you said, do what the Romans do. But at the same time, I don't want.
Real Monger, just go visit, bro. You're overcomplicated it, man.
No, 100%. I agree. 100%.
I'm just saying, go visit, man. Like, just go visit first.
I'm with it. When you going to South Africa? When you going to South Africa? I'm out.
I've already been. I have no plans of going anytime soon. I'm more focused on West Africa.
Okay, that's fine.
Real quick. You remember when you first started, not your original vacation, but when you started making your post, you was going to the villages, correct?
Correct.
You got a lot of pushback from people. Right, but what I'm saying, you got a lot of pushback because
I'm only showing the underdeveloped I'm only showing the underdeveloped parts of Africa. And,
right, exactly.
White man is in that's what the white man does. He goes and shows the underdeveloped parts of Africa. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a ton of pushback for just spending the majority. And I still do spend the majority of my time in Africa in the rural areas. Yeah.
And the other thing, you asked that question about the voting last time, and I know Real said, well, who else we're supposed to vote for? Because a lot of Black Americans said that. Well, you're really supposed to be trying to vote for your policy for your collective people, and nobody asked what the policies were in the difference of people. All they went by was a narrative that was pushed from the time that y'all called Orange Man was elected, that he's racist and he said some things that didn't make you feel right. And a lot of that wasn't even true. But my point is that we stay in the same situation, voting the same way and get nothing for the vote. And people was getting mad because there was a lot of us asking, okay, what are we going to get for the vote? Oh, we just need to get him out. We just need to get him out. And that's why we have what we have again, over and over again. So it's not so much who you vote for, is you're supposed to be voting for what's good for you. That means the policies that they're already doing and promise to do, and not someone to say we got your back and then they stab you in the back.
Hey, true. Hold on. Let me pass it to Truth Matter about Ola Dada. Then I'll pass it to Lumumba, and then we'll close out. Go ahead, Truth Matter.
Hey, Dynas, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what I want to say? It's like, you see, Black people in North America, we hate white people. But when you look at it, when you really think about the way we think, we are not different from them. Because our mentality is very shallow. Because people still don't want to comprehend that there is corruption in America. You're pointing about corruption in Nigeria. So the one in America that they segregate the school, the Black kids, they don't put money in their school. Is that not a corruption? The one that they can make a law against you. You don't even run your own city. Is that not a corruption? The one they can feel like, well, you go to the bank, they look at your skin color to give you the mortgage loan. Is that not a corruption? So the one they can tell you like, oh, if police charge you, the court system let it put more charges on you. Is that not a correction? They charge you for assault, but they will put you have assault with weapon. They can charge you like 17 at a time. Is that not a correction? We need to wake up and see what they call it. Either we believe like, you know what, there's corruption everywhere all over the world. And America is not better than, the corruption in America is not better than Nigeria. The one in America is they just sweep it under the rug. The one in Nigeria is just the open. So there's corruption everywhere. When you look at how they cheat Black people in America, is that not the corruption? When are we going to wake up? Like, what do they call it? I'm not telling anybody. I'm from Nigeria, right? And I live in Canada. I'm not telling anybody to go to Nigeria. It's your choice to go to anywhere you want to go in Africa. And if you like it, if you don't like it, that's the way it is. but there is corruption everywhere. We're not supposed to be pointing finger. I don't see. You know, our own shit stink too. Look at it. I live in Canada. This last year alone, the Canadian government already increased interest rates 7 times. You tell me, is that not a corruption?
That's not corruption. That's policy.
That's not policy, my brother. That's who's benefiting from the policy? Are you benefiting from it? Me and you are not billionaires, so we're not benefiting from it. Who do you think he owned it?
And the white people in Canada ain't benefiting from either, brother. When you're talking about corruption, we're talking about realistic corruption. Like when you go to
corruption in America.
you
when
go
you go to accept
go
this,
get a driver's license. When they decide that they want to charge you,
there's no corruption in America. They put the they put
when
the
you go. When I went to the DMV in America, I didn't get charged double to get a damn license. But in Nigeria, they charge you extra to get a license. When I got my passport in America, they didn't charge me extra to get a passport. But in the local, in Nigeria, they charge the local people extra to get a passport. Please don't act like that. Don't act like that corruption is the same damn thing.
Why did West Fargo give you because you're black? Why did they give you ghetto loans? Is it the same? Is it the same interest of loan you're getting as a black person, a white person getting? Even though you have a better
that's not corruption, that's racism.
That's the corruption, big time. My
you
need to go check the dictionary and see what the definition of
problem that I have with some Nigerian brothers, you don't even live in Nigeria. You fled Nigeria to go live in Canada.
My brother, I just came back from Nigeria after 6 months. You don't tell me that.
You fled to Canada. You fled to Canada. You left Nigeria behind.
I don't
know.
You
left Nigeria behind.
I don't know how you
now you go. But the next thing is you left. Wait. This goes back to something I said before.
I'm not suffering. If I
you left Nigeria complaining, you went to Canada. Now you're in Canada complaining.
Brother,
damn, you're gonna go everywhere and complain. Basically.
I live in Canada. No, I'm not complaining because you're the biggest complainer.
You just complained. You just literally complained.
Nobody forced you to live in Nigeria. If you don't like it, pack your stuff and go. Come on, man.
Like you,
in America.
I just packed my stuff to go like the Nigerian that packed his stuff and ran to Canada.
You guys always feel like you know what's wrong with you African Americans? You always be like your shit don't stink, like you're better than the Africans, and you're not.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm sorry, sir. But just because you said that, I want to correct you something. I want to. We African. You said we African Americans think we're better than the Africans.
And let me tell
y'all the ones that sold us.
Let me tell you.
And if you had any common sense, maybe you would want to change your tone.
You don't have a common sense
instead of being angry about it.
No, I'm
if
not
I
happy
say
about it.
Nigeria has unclean drinking water, are you going to sit up there and say no? Nigeria has clean drinking water.
The last time I looked at Finch, Michigan, they don't have an unclean drinking water too. So before you throw the stone,
I said Nigeria. I didn't say
if you live in a glass house, don't throw the stone too.
You said Flint. I said Nigeria.
Listen, in Nigeria, you can have your home borehole. You understand what I'm saying? But the last time I look at you,
hold on. If I can interject real quick, Jonathan, I don't know anyone who did not drink who drinks water.
You're just talking bullshit.
I seriously I drink water out of tap here in America. Motherfuckers think I'm crazy.
No. I'm talking about specifically Nigeria. You drink salt water in your Nigeria, you drink bottled water. Are you drinking out the tap?
Brother, where do you think the bottled water come from? From the borehole. Come on, get your bearing right.
From the butthole.
Yeah, what do you think the bottled water come from?
Bro, if you want to get up here and lie like crazy, you can do that.
I'm not lying.
But,
why should I lie?
One thing I don't like is that when some Nigerian flees from Nigeria for some damn reason.
Brother, I'm not pleading from Nigeria. Let me tell you my story.
What is the reason why you left? You damn sure go to Canada.
Listen, I was born in Western world the way you were born. I was born in Germany, so you don't know me. And guess what? Before Nigeria, my family already living. My mom and my dad school in Western world. So I was born in Germany. So that's one thing you don't know.
So wait.
German citizen, Canadian citizen, Nigerian citizen.
Bouncing around from Germany to Canada. You can't make this shit up. In the words of Kevin Samuels.
Me and you can live in Nigeria. I can fly to Nigeria.
Get out of here, bro. You're a German person that up and left Canada. You could have moved to Nigeria. You didn't choose to do so.
You're talking bullshit. Let me tell you something. I'm not those kind of Nigeria. I'm not those kind of Nigeria. I'm not a hungry one that you're gonna step on. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When you guys gonna realize there's corruption in your whole land? You always want to point fingers. Come on now.
Ain't nobody point fingers, but it's like what you said. Soon as he made a complaint about Nigeria, you told us pack his shit and leave.
No.
You don't think the black Americans come over there?
The same thing you black Americans only tell Africans when they complain. You tell them to pack their stuff and leave. So it's swing both sides.
Nah, we
You know
don't say
what?
nothing.
Hold on. Wait a minute. When Nigerians get their ass up and they come over to America, they welcome in the black community.
They walk with no, you don't welcome them.
Is that a lie?
You don't.
When Ethiopians come to America, they come to the black community and they're welcome. Is that a lie?
Let me tap in real quick.
You don't welcome them.
Hold on. Let Lamu go ahead, Lamu, but it will close. So there's been a lot said, and I tapped in late. But so what I think it is irresponsible to speak about any group of people and make broad sweeping indictments, because no group of people, irrespective of how small the ethnic group or nation they are monolithic. So that's number one. And I think when we do that, we begin to talk at each other rather than talking to each other. The second issue is this concept and idea of individuals fleeing, right? We understand, I hope most of us understand, or all of us understand, that the reality of the situation is anti-Black racism is global in nature, right? So irrespective of where you are in the world, if you're on the continent, if you're in Europe, if you're in Papua New Guinea, Australia, Polynesia, South America, North America, etc., global North, global South, you're going to combat and face anti-Black racism. The third issue, when we talk about this concept of fleeing, right? We have to understand the global nature of the global economy, how it's been structured since the advent of the transatlantic slave trade, right? In which Walter Rodney, in his seminal text, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, talked about this concept of the brain drain, in which individuals from the global South who have knowledge, who have resources, have credentials, oftentimes are forced to move to the global North to get a job that will provide them with the requisite salary that is linked to the type of education and credentials that they have. The other issue is we could say the same thing about African Americans. I myself, and I'm an African American, that we fled because of this first and second great migrations. You could argue that African Americans fled because we left the inner city and moved to the suburbs, right? So what we find is that Black people, African people, irrespective of where we are in the world, like everyone else in the world, tend to move to different locations when they believe there are better opportunities. That's just the reality.
Going from one side of your country to another is a whole lot different from leaving a whole continent and going to another. There's a big difference.
I know you ain't that crazy.
Hold on. So real quick.
I know you ain't that crazy to even try to compare that crap.
Let me respond to that.
And please remember, Africans are the majority leading their country, not in America, bro.
Why is that a problem?
Let me respond.
Why is that a problem?
I'm gonna respond, and that is a misnomer. I did a show on my channel with a brother who was an FBA, acolyte, right? He's an acolyte of one Tariq Nasheed, and I did my research. The top 5 nationalities of individuals migrating to Africa, migrating to America, none of them were African. They were Indian, they were from Southeast Asia, and they were from Central and South America.
I'm so happy you did your research. Did you know that Donald Trump banned certain African countries from coming?
Yes, I
so
did.
your numbers would not be. Your numbers wouldn't even add up at the moment.
Yes, but part of that was
your numbers are flawed.
Yes, but no, they're not flawed, because Donald Trump's ban was based on religious reasons. Donald Trump wanted to ban individuals based on religion. We know that the United States, also known as the acronym SCOTUS, overturned that executive order based on the fact that it was unconstitutional, because in America,
Donald Trump commented about African being a shithole country.
Yes, but
then he proceeded to change policy and start preventing a lot of Africans from coming over here. Don't sugarcoat Donald Trump to me, bro.
I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm stating facts. The reality of the situation is Donald Trump issued that executive order, I would dare say hours after he was inaugurated as the 45th president of the United States. And that executive order was based on banning individuals based on their religion. The particular religion in question was Islam. He later, maybe a year or two later, made the claim about African nations and other developing nations being shithole countries. And we can have a whole nother conversation about how.
So he's had to say that statement in 2015 for you to realize that's how he felt from the beginning.
No, I'm not getting into Donald Trump and what all I'm doing. I'm just talking about the executive order, right? And that the executive order was banning individuals based on religion, not based on nationality. It was based on religion, and so didn't want individuals to immigrate to America if they came from a Islamic nation or Islamic majority nation. That was the basis of the executive order. It had nothing to do with if individuals were coming from developing nations, if they were coming from Africa or the Caribbean, etc.
Let me be the first one. I'm pretty certain we all know this on this channel, that when you're able to immigrate to America or Canada or the UK, you're not necessarily a poor, normal, common Nigerian, are you? You're actually one of the middle-class elite people, because they don't just let anyone come to these countries.
Brother, that's a lie. That's a lie. Anybody can come from Nigeria. That's a pure lie.
Anyone can come to America?
That's a pure lie.
Yeah, I've dated a couple of African women who were refugees, who actually were destitute.
Oh Lord! Now we're talking about the refugees. Is that the norm?
No, I'm just telling you. Is
that the norm?
Able to immigrate to America.
Is that the norm? We can go find very special cases of people coming over here. I know someone that came from Somalia. She's a refugee.
Right. Well, that's not the norm. I know a number of individuals.
It ain't the norm. We want the norm.
I am. I'm about to speak to that. I know a number of individuals who immigrated to America and they did not come from an affluent background.
So why is it that we have statistics that literally say that majority of the people that come here that are immigrants come from affluent backgrounds?
Could you cite your source?
It's literally there.
I asked you a question. Can you cite
literally government websites? It's right there. I mean, we have to understand. Wait. It's so funny because I hear this all the time when people say, you don't know how hard it is to come to the United States of America.
I just asked you a simple question.
Hold on, one mic. Jonathan, I need you to put the link in the chat for that.
Please. That's all I'm asking.
I'll put the link.
I don't need a narrative. All I need is an answer.
Because I mean, me personally, all the vast majority of the Black immigrants in general that came here that I personally know, they didn't come from affluent backgrounds.
Yeah.
But all right, so what I can do, what we can do is this, because I'm a very good person. I can pretend to, right? I can pretend that every what's the average amount of citizens in Nigeria that got a passport?
Brother, Nigerian citizen has more passport more than the United States citizen. That's what you live in Nigeria. You don't know, bro. You don't live in no Nigeria. You're
the first thing that you're doing is you just lied out
Nigerian
the
gate.
First of all, you lied out the gate. You lied out the gate because number one, the majority of Nigerians don't have a damn passport.
Oh, you're full of it. You're a liar.
The majority of Nigerians don't even have a damn bank
You go to passport office, Dynast. You go to passport office in Nigeria all the time. You see how many people there? How many people you see in American passport office?
Do you know how many people in Nigeria?
I need the numbers on that.
Bro, go and see it somewhere.
I would say
stop throwing shade here.
I would say
live in Nigeria.
I will say this: the majority of Nigerians I know in Nigeria have passports, but the majority of Black Americans I know don't have passports.
The majority of Nigerians that you know, are they in a common group of people?
When you say,
or do they actually have resources?
When you say,
you do have resources. Power the passport in Nigeria. When Nigeria wants something, they will go for it. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
when they want something, they will go for it. A lot of Nigerians have passports. Stop doing this, bro. And you live in Nigeria.
A lot of Black Americans got passports.
Some of them don't even know. A lot of them don't know the next country.
You know, this is the weirdest part, right? Because we can, like I said, we can all pretend. But it's funny that recently when Nigeria, the government, the CBN of Nigeria, they decided they wanted to try to have this little fake ass cashless policy. And they decided they was going to change the old Naira to the new Naira. And there was this big old pushback when they decided to put limitations on how much money you could withdraw and how much money you could spend. And you know what was the biggest reason for the pushback that they had? Majority of those people don't have bank accounts.
That's a lie.
But they got
a lot of people who has bank account in Nigeria. That's a lie, bro. You're going from passport to bank account. You're not stable. You're just everywhere.
It is an example because this weird is you want to say majority of people in Nigeria got passports.
My brother.
Okay, I was saying,
but they don't have. The majority don't have bank accounts.
Let me say this.
They do have a bank account. What are you talking about?
One mic. I know more Black Americans than I do Nigerians. All right. I would say this: the majority of Black Americans I know don't have passports. The majority of Nigerians I know have passports. Because I'm in the travel business. Man, Dynasty, man, I want to come, man, but shoot, man, I gotta go get the passport. I gotta get my passport, man. Man, I'm gonna go to the post office tomorrow, man, and start the process. I kid you not. But the majority of Nigerians that I know have passports.
And Dennis, if he's saying that Nigeria, you go to the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria and see go and book appointment and see they give them 5 years. Some of them don't even, if they don't have a passport. You know how many Nigerians are applying for U.S. visa every day? Or UK visa? You said they don't have passport. All the whole African American population is 40 million. What are you talking about? You know the population of Nigeria? Nigeria is not what they call it. You don't like it, bro. I don't blame you. I'm from Nigeria too. If you don't like it, it's not the way they call it.
Listen. I don't want to hear no one saying that they were born in Germany, live in Canada, talking about Nigeria.
Bro,
it doesn't even make sense, bro.
I'm 100% Nigerian.
It doesn't make sense.
My ancestors came from Nigeria. I'm from Ibadan.
If you want to say you're 100%, you're 100% Nigerian.
So
you don't make no damn difference than the people in America who can claim Nigerian
ancestry. You can't tell me where I was born. You were born in the United States. I was born in Europe. So you're not better than me.
Someone born in Germany.
No. It doesn't matter.
You try to talk about Nigeria. Have you ever lived in Nigeria before?
Did you tell the British? Did you tell the British they were born in England and they live in America like that?
Nigeria before, sir? Have you ever lived in Nigeria before?
Yes, I do live in Nigeria. I live in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria.
You live in Canada. Make your damn mind up.
Bro, I'm 50 years old. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
And I spent 27 years in Canada. I've been living here 27 years. So minus it. I spent the rest of my life
living in Nigeria, bro.
You don't ask me that. You ask yourself how long you been living in Nigeria. I know Nigeria more than you. I know Nigeria more than you. I just came back from Nigeria. I just came back from Nigeria last year after 6 months. I was in Nigeria for 6 months. So I don't know what kind of nonsense you're talking about.
What I want to understand is why you offended? Someone tell me that Black Americans are doing bad in America. I would not get offended by saying Black Americans not doing bad in America. You don't know how bad Black Americans are doing in America. You don't know nothing about Black America. Why the hell you offended? I said Nigeria don't have clean drinking water. You get up here and try to lie and be like, oh, they got clean drinking water.
Okay, Jonathan, let me tell you something. The last time, few days ago when you were talking, I didn't come up because I listened to what you're saying. I reason to some of the stuff you say.
You got to turn off the playback.
I want to revisit a topic because we talked about Trump and the travel ban. So the executive order that Trump issued was signed and went into effect January 27, 2017. So a couple of days after he, of course, was inaugurated as the 45th president. That ban banned people from 7 majority Muslim countries: Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. Trump made the comments regarding shithole nations a year later in January of 2018. So I don't think, so I'm just saying that to say that the travel ban, there wasn't a correlation. The ban was based on individuals from Muslim majority nations.
Thank you, sir. But I would like you to understand that throughout that whole time period that Donald Trump was the president, there are too many Nigerians getting on the thing talking about all across social media and the news how they were easily getting denied visas to come to America as tourists. Not even talk about immigration, just as tourists. So please, if you're going, don't come with the bullshit. I'm talking about the people on the ground.
Hey, my man.
Literally the people on the ground.
Hey, my man, you don't know me like that, so don't talk to me that way.
I don't know you like what? What do you mean?
You don't know me to use that type of language when you're having a conversation.
You offended because I said don't say that bullshit?
Because it's not bullshit. I say the facts. These are from the. This is from
and those beautiful facts contradict what happens on the ground. Do you understand that?
First and foremost, as I stated before, I'm citing the executive order, right?
You're citing an executive order, and I'm talking about what's happening on the damn ground in Nigeria. When people were going to go apply for visas, they were getting denied left and right for no damn reason. People that were very much qualified to get visas were getting denied. I don't give a damn about no executive order. Executive order is talking about immigration benefits to come to America. That's all they had to do with. I'm talking about.
That's what we were discussing. We were talking about immigration.
If I can interject real quick, they're being denied left and right now.
Yeah, we were talking about immigration. We weren't talking about people visiting for travel or for tourism. We were talking about people immigrating, fleeing their nation, and trying to come to America to start a better life. So you're moving the goalpost.
Oh, well, let me move the goalpost back. What are the requirements for Africans to move to America? What are the requirements, sir? Don't talk about, oh, they're going through some war crisis or they're gay. We get all of that. You can get a pass on that. What are the requirements?
It depends on the visa they're applying for.
But Jonathan, when you look at it,
What
Indians,
are the requirements?
Asians are coming to
Even if we
America more
broke it
than
down, if we
Africans.
broke it down, you know, America give out talent-based visas. That's how the Indians
It
get here.
depends on the visa they're applying.
So when Nigerians come, are they just coming here on a fluke? Like, yeah, I want to live in America. Okay, you know, here, we're gonna process your paperwork. You're good to go. Are they selective about who they bring over here?
They're not selective. They give Asians priority more than
damn,
Africans.
this
That's
is
what you don't
cuckoo.
know. They have more Chinese from tech company. They have more Indians. They give it. They are the one that are going to take over you. They're going to take your space. Nigerians is not your problem. Africans is not your problem. It's Asians that are coming to replace you and the Mexicans.
Brother, what I don't get is you offended by a fact that I said.
Because I don't like when black
the
people.
weirdest part is if I got up here lying,
I don't like when black
if
people
I
want
got
to
up
feel
here
like enemy
lying,
to
tell
each
me
other.
I'm lying.
That's what I don't like.
And then prove that I'm lying.
You're
But I
lying.
ain't lying, and you know I'm not lying.
You're lying.
It's so bad. It's so
My
bad.
nephew,
I can prove
you're
that
lying.
I'm not lying if I can give you all the recordings of Nigerians going into these offices to go get a driver license, to get a national identity number, to go open a bank account, to get a BVN number. If they go up in there and they tell you all the bullshit they got to go through, who they got to pay, when they want to get something done, extra, not talking about the actual charge of the shit, extra, is that corruption?
Yes, that is corruption.
Corruption. Nobody tells you it's not corruption.
But wait a minute. On the contrary,
but you're not
if
pointing
an
it out.
African American wanted to go to the DMV in America to get a license, do you think they got to pay someone on the side to get a
They
damn
already
license?
move the DMP out of your neighborhood. They move it to white neighborhood that you can't even go. That's why.
I
Is that
asked
why they
you, do
suppress
they
you for
have to
voting?
pay extra
Is
money
that
to get a
is that
damn
not some
license?
states
Say yes or no.
implement law in
No,
America?
you don't have to pay extra money to get a
If you
license.
want to go get a passport, do you got to pay extra money and tip this person off?
No,
Yes
you
or
do
no?
not.
Very
Then
annoying.
damn it, that's the problem. So when I say that the common Nigerian suffering under corruption, why the hell you want to get up here and argue like
So
it ain't
African
true?
American is not suffering under corruption in the United States. They move the DMP out of your neighborhood.
Do you understand there's
so
a
you can't have what
difference?
they call it? No,
There
there's
is
no
a
difference.
difference in corruption when
There
it's
is
every
corruption
day in your
everywhere.
damn
Look at the
face
guy.
every
Look at the
time you
guy in
got
New
to
York.
do something.
Look at the Brazilian guy in New York. Just lie, become a member of the House of Representatives. Just lie. That's not a corruption, bro. You live in a glass house. Don't throw in a stone.
Bro,
you understand what I'm saying? Maybe you would tell that to
the
someone
problem
just
with you
coming from
saying is
Nigeria.
bothering me because one minute I'm pointing out the normal shit that Nigerians go
Yeah, but
through
I'm not
on a
telling you there's
day-to-day
no
basis
corruption. No,
that
I
African
accept what you're
Americans
saying.
don't go through on a
Listen,
day-to-day basis. You want to
Jonathan.
talk about Paulie's corruption?
No,
You can
Jonathan.
talk
I'm
about
not telling
Paulie's
you.
killing people. They kill people in Nigeria, bro.
They kill people in America too. America is the capital mother
All
of the
right, so
world.
cancel
Go to
that out.
Chicago. What are you
Back to what
talking
I was
about?
just saying. On a day-to-day normal basis, Nigerians are getting fucked over by corruption in
Americans
these
getting
local
fucked up too. But brother, I'm not telling you the Nigerians don't get fucked up, but Americans
All right,
too
but
get
why are
fucked
you
up too.
offended? Now let's
Do you know
talk
how many
about it.
Americans? Do you know how many American school? Is it not 6 years old just took the gun to school and shot the teacher last week Friday? So what are you talking about?
Hold on. One mic. Go ahead, Black Beauty.
Can I speak specifically and personally because it is exactly 3:56 a.m. here in Lagos.
Go ahead.
As a Black American Jamaican from New York, born and raised, who's been living here for 1.5 years now, I think I would like to speak very candidly because I just had this conversation and these exact details have been happening to my fiance just now. He's from Delta State, but he's pretty much his family's from Delta State, but he was born and raised in Acacia. His dad is Yoruba, but his mom she's Delta. But because he was born in Lagos, he speaks full Yoruba. He don't speak Igbo or he don't speak Wari. He don't speak Yoruba. None of that. He went to go get his passport. It's been taking him about a month to try to get a passport because every time we went to 3 different people. And now I understood myself because my last name is an English last name. Okay, but when your last name is something very, very Igbo or very, very Yoruba, and they start giving you excuses about why you can't get your passport, and they start sending you to this and that liaison office talking about you need to speak some language that your family hasn't spoken. I mean, I went into the liaison office with him. We went to Delta State liaison office right here. And on Kofi Aboyemi Street, I believe that's where it is. And let me tell you, When you get in there, thank God for the lady that was in front. Thank God we had a couple, naira to give her so she could teach my fiance a couple words. She taught him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Yoruba. She taught him how to say a couple things about his village so he could get his documentation, so he could now take that documentation back to the lady that I got my documentation to, because I have my sis from Jos who did my documentation. A young lady that I became friends with, who's pretty much a political citizen here, whose mom is a politician. I became friends with her through Eric Kaiser. She did my paperwork. She's from Jos and she has a lot of power. She did my paperwork right in Ikoyi where she lives. And literally, if it weren't for her, I would have no paperwork, because the way they gave me the runaround around here, like, I understand Dynast was adopted by his Yoruba family, but me, it's different because my family is all the way in the top of this country where they dare me not go. So to be honest with you, in order for us to make anything happen, we had to jump around like we were playing hot fucking potato in this Lagos to even get a Niger boy his passport, and he still not get it. We're still waiting. And I'm just letting you know, this place, as much as I'm a tough New Yorker, I get very discouraged on a daily basis in this place. Okay, very discouraged. As much as, and now let me, before you jump down my throat, Truth, because I see you about to unmute. You don't know me, so I just want to make it very clear that I'm being honest. I'm not rigging on anybody's country, because I do like and enjoy being in this place, and I live in a nice area, and I make very good money in America, so I live at the top of the level here. I don't have no difficulties here. But when it comes down to do these little things, I'm even watching it through the perspective of I have one of my best friends who's like my sister, I'm gonna bring to the States. The runaround they gave her to try to just answer a couple questions to try to get her visa to come out this country, and how quick she got it for Dubai, it's as if they're trying to stop you guys from making your way to the West to make this real money. And I feel bad for y'all. But the reality is the reality. There are people that were sitting right in the Delta State Liaison office this week, just speaking about how I was never born in Delta State. I've been in Lagos my whole life. I'm from the North. I'm from Delta State. I'm from, all these other different places. And they can't seem to get their passports. It's like, you see, the thing is, when you go and you get a passport, this is my man waking up now. You see, when you go and you get a passport in the States, you go, you take your money, you take your social, and they get you your passport in 2 and 3 weeks, and they don't ask you where the fuck you're going. Here, you must divulge everything you're doing, every plan you have in life, everything your mother did, everything your dad did, their grandfather, their grandma, in their village, in their native language, before you can even prove that you have the right to leave here. So, like, let's be real. I'm done lying about Nigeria. I love this place, but this place is real work, right? Wahala, wahala, wahala. This place is fucking wahala. I'm sorry to say. It's just every day is some nonsense that even if you have a little bit of money to start tip, which I do, listen, I've made so many relationships. Every person I hang out with here is a Nigerian. I think I have one American girlfriend who I can't seem to find her. I think she got up and left. A beautiful girl from Mississippi, been here for 4 years, tried to make it work, built her little business out here, her clothing business. It is just too much work. She called me when I was in the States for my grandma's funeral, and she said, you know what, Jack, I'm enjoying Mississippi. I've been here for a month. I left like a week after you did. I don't know about Nigeria. I haven't seen her since I got back. I don't even think she came back. A beautiful American girl that's been making this place work far beyond before I got here. That's my only American friend, and she done left this place. Every single Nigerian friend that I have that has any kind of anything is going to bet every last naira they have to leave this place so they can make something for themselves. And I feel so bad for this country, because as much as this place has potential, people don't want to tie themselves down, and I understand it on a daily basis. It's too hard.
I don't dispute your fact. I speak Yoruba. Sister, I speak Yoruba. And do you know how long it takes?
Yoruba too, but because he's not Yoruba, they said his last name's not Yoruba, even though he speaks full Yoruba and born in Acacia, because his last name's not Yoruba, they can't give him his passport. So now he had to go run around the Delta.
My last name is Yoruba. It take me 5 months before I can get my passport in Ibadan. And I pay, you know how much did I pay? I pay 75,000 naira.
No, we gotta pay 100K for.
I paid 75,000, and the guy told me it's gonna come out in 3 weeks. It take me 5 months. I was in Nigeria for 6 months.
I don't like lack. I'm from New York City, baby. I'm not any Black person. I'm a Black American baby from New York City, a born and bred Jamaican American from New York City, whose great grandmother has roots in America. My mother's side is an American. They 450 years deep from Louisiana. My daddy is from St. Anne's Bay. I see Mr. Jamsky. If you guys are from Lagos, you know Jamsky's restaurant. Mr. Jamsky and me, he's like my Jamaican uncle out here. He calls me personally to check on me, everything. Do you see how hard he works, Mr. Jamsky, to keep up his little Jamaican restaurant? As many people come through there, do you see how hard he has to work? Listen, he had a delivery man take the delivery all the way to the mainland, was supposed to take it to Ikoyi. People are not smart here, too. You get people to work for you, and 3 out of 5 people don't have any intelligence. No get sense.
Facts.
Right.
I'm just keeping it real, because this place has so much. This is the African giant.
I know what you're talking about. Nigerian problem is not the government, right? I always tell people from Nigeria, I'm from Nigeria, and I tell people the Nigerian government is a mindset.
I'm not going anywhere because I got bread, so I can do what I want to do. I can mac in this place and get frustrated every day and still be comfortable. Thank God.
Yes, sis. Hey.
I'll go Ernest Simmons. Go ahead, Ernest.
What I was gonna say, recently I went to Liberia and I had a good time. You know, I just got engaged out there and I enjoyed it. And I'm gonna tell you, when I went out there, everybody was smiling and happy. You know, I felt welcome to Liberia. And I'm letting y'all know, not everybody out there is bad. It's just in America, everybody was brainwashed in America. They think everybody on the other side is your enemy. Ain't nobody's your enemy. Everybody, they love us out there. So at the end of the day, they need help. That's how much like how we complain about in America that nobody don't want to hire us, but you gotta look at it where they come from. You know what I'm saying? They trying to make it out here and trying to make a better life and go back home. So you gotta look at it. We got it good, but we can't sit there and talk about everybody in Africa, because at the end of the day, they you know what I'm saying? They trying to make a living, but at the end of the day, half them guys out there happy, all the women out there happy, celebrating. But they love us back in America, because at the end of the day, it all started from Africa. You know, when you think about when you go way back to the 18s, all this wouldn't even exist in America. If it weren't for the 18s back to slave, we wouldn't even exist. People have lied to us in America through school, all this other stuff of where we really come. We really come from out of Africa when you think about it. But we have been brainwashed, and I got respect for the real ones that still stand their grounds, the real Africans that's in America, that's keeping it going. I got love for them. But all this fake nonsense, arguing with people across the water and understanding history while all it started, nah, man, because y'all making us look bad as a people. Because if you curse your people out across the water, you really making us look, you making the allies, you making the allies look back at us across the water like we hate them, and we don't have no hate with them. We don't have no hate for them. You got to look at all white countries that they got allies with each other. You got to look at certain presidents that ain't from this country that been here that would have been lied to us, and we sitting there starting mess our own brothers and sisters across the water. You know how bad they make us look. And we in America, we supposed to be helping them. Like how we all got money out here, we supposed to be reaching back in our back pocket, and we got all that money. We sit back in America complaining about white folks killing us. No, we got our own brothers out there suffering, and this mess here is pitiful. How y'all go against your own people, man? It's so bad in America. We hurt each other. How can we argue with them when we hurting each other in America?
Well, you know what, Ernest? It's like they don't want us to help them. That's what I'm trying to say about the passport. It's like
it's getting out of hand. How can we blame Africa? And Africa's trying to come over here and be a fan. They trying to. If Africa really didn't care about us, they wouldn't even reach out to us. So how can you blame them? And they sitting there trying to reach out to us to say, welcome home. I'm sick of everybody blaming Africa for everybody fuck ups. I've been watching this channel for so long. I'm like, wow. So when other people go visit, don't. I'm gonna tell you like this: when you gaslight Africa, when people go visit, in the future when people get to waking up in Africa, you know how they gonna look at us after a while when we go visit the motherland. They like, we don't want them out here. They always talking about us and everything. They don't even sit back over there and talk about it, because I have went to Africa. I have went out there and I have witnessed in Liberia. It's a very beautiful. I ain't never heard nobody talk about America. I have hung around. I got engaged, and I noticed out there. Man, they love America. They love us in America. They want us to go visit and start business out there. But when you sit back and cut it up, and I'm gonna say like this is 54 countries in Africa. But when you talk about one, I'm gonna tell you like this: you got 54 countries. But when you sit back and cut one country up, everybody else gonna look at it like, damn, that's how they feel about us in America. and we out there, you know, we love them. We can't tell them officially because we got our own problems. And it's like, okay, we got our own problems in America, but how can we blame them when they got their own problems? Well, you can't just sit back and throw a rock. If you want to sit back and throw a rock on Africa, we got to fix shit in America before you throw a rock at Africa, because Africa don't have nothing to do with this, what we got going on in America. They love us.
Wait, I meant to ask you guys, did Rihanna perform already? Because, you know, I'm out here, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I watch this performance?
Rihanna.
This NFL performance.
Rihanna.
This is nigga, what's going on here?
Well, guys, listen, we got to close out. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, Family Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Yeah.